Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the 158th session of 11th Council to order. One of our council people, can you please do invocation?
Good evening, everyone. I pray everybody has a good day today. Let us pray. And God, we come yet again giving you thanks for this lovely day. We thank you for the friends that we have not seen. We thank you for the faith, the fellowship that you provided for us. We thank you, Lord God, for your wisdom and direction that you've given us. And now, Lord God, we pray that you will provide your peace and comfort as we discuss the business of this city, that all may be well, that all may be done according to your perfect will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I just want to remember those that are no longer here with us since our last meeting. Dane Thomas, who was a community activist, who was a key person in helping to inspire the changes in the GM Housing Neighborhood Association. Mr. Henry Shoemaker, who was a retiree from the city of Pontiac. And all those others that are no longer here with us. At this time, a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call of council members. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman.
Here.
James. Here. McGinnis. Nicholson. Parker.
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Doyle. At this time, authorization to accuse council members from the meeting. President McGinnis is planning to be here. He's running late, so I won't do a motion for that. Can I get a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, supported by Councilman Parker. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I get roll call, please?
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the other consent agenda. Can I get a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, second by Councilwoman James. At this time, can I get a roll call, please?
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes. And I went a little fast, so of course the consent agenda consists of A, City Council meeting minutes from July the 16th, including the closed session minutes, resolution honoring the life and service of Henry Shoemaker, resolution honoring the life or service of Dane Thomas, resolution adopting council policy on submitted written public comments. Next on the agenda is special presentation, status update on trash, recycling, and special pickup transition. Presentation presenter, DBW Director Mark Ragsdale. Please turn the microphone on, please.
Good evening, everybody. So a lot has transpired in the last week, all positive. We met this morning with priority and to help understand what has been going on They laid out how we got to where we're at and where we're going to be going moving forward. So when Priority bought out GFL, there was an audit done on their vehicles in April. Between April and the end of June, there was no maintenance that were done on those vehicles. So when the vehicles, when the garbage trucks go to get towed, they have to pull the axles out of the back of the center shafts out of the axles. So when they made this transition, there was 50 to 75 trucks that were sitting in the yard that they thought were functional, but really they weren't. So that's been a major problem, is the trucks have not been available. So starting today, we have 7 trucks in the city, and that's what there will be in our normal route. So we will have 3 for garbage, 1 for yard waste, 1 for bulk pickup, and then 1 will be a floater where it's needed. So if it's extra yard waste that they're behind on, they will be utilizing that truck. They have assured me that moving forward, by the end of the week, they should all be caught up. Next week, we should be back to normal business. We also talked about their phone lines. I'm sure many of you tried to call a Priority and you can't get in. We couldn't either. There has been progress made on their phone lines. Now they're able to, when you call, you can leave a message and leave your name and number, and they can call you back, or you can just leave the complaint and it will get handled that way. The new phone system will be up and running by the end of the month. Now, what separates Priority from the other vendors is Priority has cameras all the way around their trucks. They have 6 cameras on their trucks, and at any given time, they can pull that data from their trucks. However, they have purchased these vehicles from GFL, so the trucks aren't equipped with cameras yet. But I've been told this morning that that also should be done by the end of the month, having the camera system up and running. And what that means is if a homeowner was to call either Priority or they were to call the city and have a complaint and said, my house was missed, they didn't pick up my trash, or they didn't pick up my yard refuge, they can, within 2 minutes, they can go back and look at the camera footage on the truck to see if they actually missed it or if the homeowner actually didn't have their can out in time for it to be picked up. Or it could be something in the lines of there was a truck or car on the street that was parked in front of their house, and there wasn't room for the truck's claw to pick the cans up. So everything that I heard from the meeting this morning was positive. So they assure me that everything should be worked out by the end of the week. We have a representative from Priority here. His name is Don Beretta, formerly of GFL. So if you have any questions you may want to ask.
Yeah. Give us, Council, do you have any questions for TBW Director?
I do.
Well, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Pro Tem.
Please silence all cell phones in the chamber, please.
My question, you said that there is 7 vehicles operating in the city.
Yes, sir.
There was 3 for garbage, 1 for yard waste, 1 for bulk. Where's the other 2?
So there is 1 for yard waste, 1 for bulk, 1 for parks, and then 1 will be a floater.
Okay, my second question is, in lieu of the fact that a lot of people put their yard waste out weeks ago, when they pick them up and the bag breaks, is there going to be any remedy that they will assist with picking up the refuse?
This gentleman right here will answer that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Don Beretta with GFL. Yes.
I know that there's been some areas that have been neglected, and yard waste has been out there for a week or so. So yes, if that bag is broke open, they have, all the trucks have shovels and brooms. They should clean it up, yes.
And so I guess my B to that is, who should we call when that don't happen?
Well, you should be able to get a hold of Priority directly through their CDL and the phone number that you should have. Mark can get a hold of me at any time. I will be glad to intercede on that and make sure it gets picked up right away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions from council? Yeah, Councilwoman James.
You said we have 7 trucks. Do any of the trucks for Pontiac have the camera system already installed?
No.
And it's going to be a month before we see that.
It should be by the end of the month before we see that. So what was explained to me this morning, instead of them doing, say, one truck here, one truck there, they're going city by city to install the cameras. Now, priorities vehicles that already have contracts with other municipalities, they already have the cameras on the trucks. These trucks that need the cameras mounted on them are the ones that they purchased from GFL.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So none of the trucks servicing Pontiac are their trucks. All of the trucks servicing Pontiac are the old GFL trucks.
Correct.
Okay, and the other question, you talked about the new phone system, but if a resident wanted to go online and lodge a complaint, is your online website showing, a way that Pontiac residents can go online and get information?
Yes. So there's GFL has a website to go online and fill out. In addition, if they call the DPW, we have a Microsoft Teams portal set up between the DPW and Priority, and that will give us real times. For instance, if you were to call in and Jackie took the phone call, Jackie would be able to put the information right into the portal. Mm-hmm. Somebody would see that, and she would be able to flip on and see if it's been addressed or not.
I understand, and everyone who's called me, I call DPW and have them to forward that message. But a lot of residents are calling Priority directly, and that's what I'm asking for the sake of people who are listening. If they want to go online, could you just walk us quickly through the steps of what they need to do to go online and report a problem?
Don, you want to handle that?
Unfortunately, I'm a very new employee for Priority, but the two things you can do is, well, one of the things they did was they didn't ever had a big customer service center, but because of the transition, they hired additional people to take the calls. Understand now that the calls have subsided considerably, so they can still call and log a complaint or a concern, or they can go through the portal at the DPW, which gives them the opportunity to put in there what went wrong. And when the program works the way it should, people should be responded back to within 2 or 3 minutes. So you have, and I don't want to say that they can go right online right this minute and do that. Everything should go through the portal to the CLC people that are over at our corporate office. They take the information and send it out to where it needs to go. It's looked at real time. The resolution should be very quick and responded back to the resident if they go through the portal.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Graham, you have the floor. I'm sorry. Any more questions?
Well, in a similar vein, I want to let people know that we've tried to make it easier to contact City Hall about these problems as well. So obviously you can still call City Hall and talk with Jacqueline in the DPW department. Jacqueline is handling these concerns. But we've also established a designated email address to allow for people to send anything, any concern related to garbage, yard waste, bulk pickup, anything relating to this topic, to this email address. And that is trashpickup@pontiac.mi.us. So again, trashpickup@pontiac.mi.us. We really encourage people, even if you're contacting Priority, to also let the city know that you have this problem, because we're tracking all of these problems. And if Priority doesn't get them addressed within 24 hours of our residents or us letting them know about it, we do have a liquidated damages clause and provision in the contract where there's a penalty provision, a financial penalty provision, where Priority then has to deduct a substantial amount of money from what the city would otherwise pay Priority. So please, even if you're contacting Priority directly, please also let us know so that we can enforce our full rights under the liquidated damages provision in the contract. So again, trashpickup@pontiac.mi.us.
Thank you, Mayor Grimo. At this time, I'll turn the floor back over to President Michael McGinnis.
Thank you, Pro Tem, and I apologize for jetting here from work and missing the first few minutes. I want to flag that, and this was reported to the Department of Public Works later last week, but the residents of Midland Drive, both North and South Midland Drive, in this extreme circumstance, their trash was not picked up for a full 7 days. So thank God it was picked up yesterday, which Monday is their usual pickup. So addresses including 120 North Midland Drive, 30 South Midland Drive. That's Ms. Jacob and Ms. Mingo, respectively. I know they both submitted their concerns to the DPW, but I imagine other residents. But I just want to flag that for everyone else's neighborhood. If your trash is not picked up within like a day-ish or the day of the usual, let us know ASAP, because that, I haven't heard of other instances of that happening. So that was really problematic, and I imagine it was, human error or just, a street got missed. But because I didn't hear from other residents about trash, that went 7 days. That was really concerning, and I didn't hear about it until towards the end of that week. So that just, I want to flag that. Don't think, oh, they may be coming. It would be very bizarre if your trash is not picked up, and I just want to confirm that what I'm communicating is correct, that would be not a usual circumstance. Or were there other streets in the city that had to wait more than a day beyond their standard trash pickup?
So that would be an extreme circumstance, yes. What we have done in the last week from the DPW side is we filled a vacant position that's been vacant for 3 or 4 years now. We sanitation superintendent. So we moved one of our employees into that position, and that person will be out every day in the districts checking for the trash that wasn't picked up, and they will be in constant communication.
If it's Priority, you can answer that.
No, it's one of my employees keep trying to get a hold of me. They will be in constant communication with each other, the area manager and our sanitation superintendent. So, for instance, if they're doing the routes in District 1 and they normally go through there at 8, 9 o'clock, okay, if he drives by at noon or he drives by at 1 o'clock and it hasn't been picked up, well, there's a chance that maybe those streets were missed. So he can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I just drove by on Street A or Street B, and the trash hasn't been picked up. And then he can dispatch the trucks right back to that area within the same day so that it's not even missed. Or that he goes by the next day and the trash still isn't picked up from the day before. He can make sure that it gets picked up within the 24-hour period. Councilwoman James wanted to address, thank you, Alicia, by the way. The website to go to is www.prioritywaste.com/contact And that will give you an opportunity for an online chat. You can also email to PontiacLDC@PriorityWaste.com. The phone number to call is 586-228-1200 or 855-92-8365.
So that was a website for Priority Waste, an
Yes.
email for Priority Waste?
Yes.
A phone number and then a toll-free phone number?
Correct.
And that would be perhaps posted by the city of Pontiac to the city's website to make it readily available, even if someone didn't watch this meeting?
Correct.
I think that'd be useful. So to make sure that we've got it all, we're all on the same page, for lawn bags, when can residents see the standard resumption of lawn bag weekly pickup?
Whatever your normal route is, whatever day that may be, everything should be taken care of on that day this week. So whatever day your trash is on, if it's today, your trash should be picked up, your 2 bulk items should have been picked up, and the lawn yard waste should be picked up.
Well, I can tell you from many residents of District 7, the bags have not been picked up. I have heard that some streets have begun seeing bags picked up, and then I saw with my little eyes in District 2 last night that there seemed to be a truck running just trying to scoop up the belated lawn yard waste items. But so I think it's fair to say, residents, you've heard the DPW director report to DPW if something is missed. If your bulk items are missed, your lawn bags are missed, your trash is missed, because we need that data to make sure that it's being tracked and lodged correctly, so that way the taxpayers don't have to foot a bill for a service not being rendered. Is that correct to say?
Yes, and I just want to reiterate the fact that the 7 trucks were not up and running till today. So prior to today, there was 3 trucks.
Okay.
So 7 trucks will be our normal route, our normal standard operating procedure.
Councilwoman James.
Just one more question. Just want to confirm when the sanitation superintendent, is he already working and functional?
So yes, he is already working and functional, but he has not actually technically been promoted to that position. We're working on it, but yes, he is interimly filling that position right now, yes.
So tomorrow, the city of Pontiac will have a sanitation supervisor overseeing the trash collection?
He's already been doing it, yes.
Okay.
This
all right.
week,
Just
this
wanted-
week.
Okay.
Great question, and I know I speak on behalf of the council that we're pleased that that position that was possible has now been activated, because this is really drawn into stark contrast how necessary it is. It's a contract compliance element with a very specific contract that they're focusing on, but it's just too essential for all of our neighborhoods, all of our streets. We got to make sure it happens right.
Absolutely.
Councilman Parker?
Thank you, sir. I just have one quick question. Is there a time in the evening when you can say, okay, it hadn't been picked up, they ain't coming?
No, not during the summertime. I mean, dark, would you say, that?
When all the trucks are running and all things being equal, they should really be off the streets and home by 6 o'clock.
So when 6 o'clock come and they haven't picked it up, we can assume they ain't coming that day?
If they're not there by 6 o'clock, the team leader for that day should contact Mark or his designated representative to let you know what the problem is and when it'll be picked up.
And that would be, that I would suggest that would be starting next week. This week, I expect them to be working late to get caught up.
Thank you.
And traditionally, I'd probably ask you from your perspective, professional perspective, is this normal? What you've worked with other trash contractors, but I understand this is such an out of the ordinary or unusual set of circumstances. We really can't even pull on your past experience. But have you had a sanitation superintendent or supervisor in-house in other municipalities that you've worked in over the years?
Yes, and so this is typical in this. It's typical to have a transition period What is not typical is the length it has taken to make this transition period. And that is because we're going back to, because Priority bought out 73 contracts from GFL, from municipalities, and they're flat out, they didn't have the trucks. The trucks weren't running to take on the capacity of the cities. And nobody has seen anything to this diameter.
Well, I'm grateful that the administration has a Department of Public Works director in place, because this would have been really bad without that. So I think it's really important that all of our departments have leadership in place. So I want to acknowledge that this is days into your gig. You are inheriting a lot of these sort of gears that were already in motion, but I'm grateful that you're leading a team and you're rolling up your proverbial sleeves to try and get it resolved.
Thank you.
Any final questions or discussion on this special presentation? All right, that concludes. Thank you very much. So if you have public comment, did you sign up? Okay, so
No.
yep.
No,
So
no.
just in terms of the order of the meeting, we'll call when that comes up. Next is the Pontiac Master Plan update, next steps. We give the floor to the administration. Any intro you need to do, Mayor, or you want to hand it right off to the planning manager?
Well, I'll just say that this is a really important process. I know we've talked about the master plan at past meetings, but this is overdue. The last time that the city updated its master plan was back in 2014. This should really be done every 5 or 6 years, probably at the most, in terms of the lengthiest period. And so this is overdue. It's a really important process. For those who don't know what a master plan process is, it really is the blueprint for where we want our city to go in the future, how we want to see our city progress over time. So it includes potentially zoning updates and changes, but it also includes what sort of development do we want to see? What kind of housing options do we want to see? What kind of economic development and job creation do we want to see? So it is a really comprehensive blueprint. We are now officially in the process, and one of the things that we feel really strongly about is we want to make sure that there are both some core groups, work groups comprised of residents, but also that there are broader options where any resident can weigh in and have their voice be heard in this process. And you'll hear today about some of those opportunities to have your voice be heard. And with that, we've got our planning manager, Mark Andrick, here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, public. While you see me here on this podium a lot of Tuesday nights, I do want to express my excitement and my gratitude to be able to be here in front of you tonight. Tonight's presentation is really a open book, open door as to what to expect for the next 9 months for this master plan process. So I've got Paul Lippens from McKenna and Associates who will be having a presentation shortly. The City Council approved this contract early in June. We actually had an internal kickoff meeting on June 21st of June, or I'm sorry, June 21st of this year. And so that 9-month process kicked off that day. So we're going till March of 2025. And really the plan is between now and the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of public engagement sessions about the future and the vision of this city. And if you look at the board right now, the title of this master plan is going to be called Vision Pontiac. It's a simple title of really what we're looking for as a community to come up with on what are our goals, what are our objectives, what are our strategies to help us move forward to where we want to be. And the most important part of this, while McKenna, we're gracious that McKenna's part of this process, this is Pontiac's plan. There's going to be a lot of public engagement sessions. There's going to be some conflicting opinions, but we've got to work together to come to consensus on what that plan is. And we'll be working with several town halls, several public engagement sessions, as well as 4 touch bases with Planning Commission and 4 touch bases with City Council, with tonight being the first. So I'm very excited to hear all of your input at these upcoming meetings. We've even got some virtual webinars that you might be able to also provide some input on your phone. So with that, I'm going to give the floor to Paul Lippens, and I'll be available for questions after his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, Council, Mayor, members of the public. It's my pleasure to be here tonight and to kick off with Council this exciting process we have for the Vision Pontiac Master Plan. As Mark said, my name is Paul Lippens. I am a vice president with McKenna. I've been doing this for a little bit, but I will say working with cities and redevelopment is my favorite thing to do. I think this is an exciting time for Pontiac, and it's really my pleasure to be here to experience this with the community. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process and some of our initial findings, but I will say, our role is to help the community, the city of Pontiac, get all of this important work done within this schedule. We want to be adopting a plan early next year. And I would think about me a little bit like a cab driver or an Uber driver. I know how to do this. I've done this a lot, but you're going to tell me where to go. So I'm going to be looking to everyone in this community, every conversation I have about what's important. And I'll be driving the car, making sure that we get there and trying to make sure that we get there on time. Also on this slide, I should mention I have a team of planners, very talented people that you'll see throughout the process. I'll be here as much as I can, but you may be seeing Alexis, Ashley, Brigitte, Michael, Alexa. We've got a big team, and we're all really excited about this project. We're also working with Estelle, Elnora Estelle Associates on this project, and they are public engagement specialists.
I will flag for the community's benefit, in addition to Paul's haircut, look at you go, but that Michael Betcher used to work in the city of Pontiac with the downtown Pontiac. I believe it was when it was the Pontiac Downtown Business Association. And for Gibbs Planning Group, Robert Gibbs grew up in Pontiac.
Yes.
So I'm going to provide that context.
Yes, and Gibbs is a retail planning expert, and he'll be doing some market analysis for us. So I'm going to go fairly quickly through this. We're going to talk a little bit about what master plans are and the goals and the vision, and then I'll present a summary of demographic finding. Right now we're in our research and analysis phase. We will continue to do research and analysis throughout this process, and I'm just going to present a little bit of those initial findings tonight. So thanks to the mayor for kicking a little bit off on the importance of the master planning process. But the master plan is really a policy document that sits at the center of many different activities that the city has. So including your parks and recreation plan, special plans for commercial corridors or downtowns, thinking about how the city's transportation system needs to grow, and also about how the city's transportation system is entwined with regional transportation and regional land use growth. There are lots of different plans that are relevant for residents in Pontiac. And the master plan is a document that kind of sits at the center of those things and helps to guide future growth and development. Another thing that's really important about the master plan is it is one of the documents that is allowed to be very long-term in nature. So we can think 20 years out. We can think 100 years out when it comes to architecture. I mean, we want buildings that will last and be here for future generations. And that is something that's really special about a master plan process, is we can think not just about what we need today for the next 5 years. We can think about our children and our children's children and the legacy that we are able to create. But also, the mayor mentioned that this document should be updated every 5 years. So we really want to get a snapshot today. We want to learn about what is needed today, create a plan that can be actionable, but also create a culture of planning and updating so that in 5 years, this document can still be updated and be meaningful and adjusted for changes that had happened. And that's really an important part of the planning process. Master plans are the basis for zoning. And that means zoning, it regulates what is permitted today. And that's an important distinction between master plans and zoning. But you can amend the zoning ordinance. But when the city, if the city chooses to make zoning ordinance amendments, it's really important that it aligns with the goals and the vision that are set in the master plan process. So that's important. Anyone that might want any development changes or updates to any of the neighborhoods or uses around their home, participating in this master plan process is your opportunity to say, I want to change. I want to see some meaningful development near me. And this is what I want to see, because then the city can take action and update the zoning ordinance. And then again, this is a development that is, or a document that is used by property owners, developers, outside agencies to really guide how money is spent, how resources are allocated, and how the city will move over time. Public input is absolutely essential to this process. As I said, we need to learn from residents, from business owners, from council, from the city's leadership about what is important. My team knows a lot about planning and how to put tools together that will be actionable, but we're not the experts. We don't live here. I like to have a lived experience. I'll spend a lot of time here and I'll learn about what it's like to be here, but I still don't live here. And what I need and my team needs is we need to interact with everybody. One of the things I frequently tell people is if you spend time talking to me at the end of the process, I want you to be able to read the document and see your impact. If you tell me something that you want in there, I want to make sure that it's in there. I want to make sure that we really capture the value that you spend in participating in the document. Again, this document can be updated every 5 years. But we need to know what's happening today, and we won't know what's happening today without the expertise of community members participating in the process. And, really, like I said, you have ideas. You have a vision. As the experts in the community, you know really where you want it to go. And without hearing from you, we won't be able to help to bring these ideas to life and help communicate those ideas to your plan commission and your council so that they can make decisions that are aligned with what residents want to see. We're very fortunate that council has led this process through even developing the RFP so that we can hit the ground running. I already feel like we are 3 months into the process and we really just started, as Mark said, a few weeks ago. But City Council set these 7 focus areas, which really allow us to immediately start working on what's important from council's perspective. Those areas are neighborhoods and housing, redevelopment, workforce development, downtown and commercial uses, transportation and walkability, historic preservations, and future land use. While we know these are the focus areas that we think have been validated so far with all the research that we've done, we need residents to tell us the specifics about how we can implement these focus areas and what will make a difference in the community. So we're looking for community members throughout a series of the public engagement activities that we're conducting throughout the process to help identify the strategies. What strategies will have a meaningful impact? What strategies will improve our neighborhoods and help improve quality of life for the community? As we identify these strategies, what we want to do is create an actionable plan that can be implemented over the course of 5 years. We will have some long-term activities that we tag, but we will actually try to put strategies in the near term, make sure that they're measurable, and identify the partners to help achieve these things. So while an idea could be as big as, we want to attract new workforce development trainings and have a training center in every neighborhood. What we will try to do is relate that back to one of those 7 focus areas and identify the objectives and the strategies to make that happen. We'll also be doing some creative work on how to collect different types of ideas. This is a word cloud activity that we conducted with our initial kickoff with our steering committee and subcommittees. And these were the types of things that people said they wanted to see in the next 5, 10, and 20 years. A lot about safety, prosperity, engaging the youth, creating education opportunities, increasing housing, having inclusive decisions and racial equity, being more community-oriented, providing affordable housing. These ideas are the types of things you can think about from a visioning perspective for Visioning Pontiac, and we'll be working to develop the action plan to say how these can be achieved through a variety of activities. We also have the types of things that are more project-oriented, so We'll be asking people about what the big ideas are, what types of project-oriented things people want to see. And this was our first reaction from the steering committee, acknowledging, what controls development? Zoning. So right off the top, our steering committee was kind of identifying how to get things done from a development perspective, making sure that we have arts and culture events, entertainment, things like improving the school, revitalizing downtown, creating just more restaurants. We want more restaurants. We want ethnic farmer markets, a young entrepreneur zone. These types of project ideas, we can't create these things. There is no list of things that will work that we can just say, we recommend all these things for Pontiac. We literally don't know. We need to work with the community to identify strategies that are right for this community, and we're excited to do this with everyone. As Mark mentioned, our schedule will bring us through March of next year. I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the regulatory structure in the state of Michigan. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act requires communities to have a master plan. So the city of Pontiac is required to have a master plan document. And it is required that they're updated every 5 years. Now, granted, you can, by action, re-adopt in 5 years if it's still a valid document, and many communities choose to do that. But we do want to set Pontiac up to be in compliance with that 5-year requirement. The other thing that's really unique and I think important about planning in Michigan is that the public engagement process is also required, and the last 63 days of that process, the process goes like this. Planning Commission will hold a public hearing, and at that public hearing, actually, before that, let me step back. Actually, Planning Commission will have the plan and then recommend City Council initiate a public comment period. And at that time, the Plan Commission will let City Council know, we have a plan, we believe it meets the goals that we set out at the beginning of the process, and we would like City Council to initiate a 63-day comment period. So that last 2 months, January and February, what we hope to do is we will have the complete plan on the project website and available to review by every resident business owner in the city of Pontiac, so you can prepare your comments and have a time to read this document and digest it before it's considered for adoption. At the end of that 63 days, that's when Planning Commission is also required to host a public hearing. And at that public hearing, it will be noticed with a 14-day notice, and anyone that wants to attend that meeting will have an opportunity to speak and share their comments with Plan Commission about that document. After hearing that, Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council on adopting that document. And City Council will be able to make that decision with the results from that public hearing. So we're really structuring our engagement process to get most of this work done in the remainder of the summer and this fall, so that we can have those touch points and ensure that prior to putting that public document out for that 63-day review period, that we know that it aligns with what we've heard in the many public engagement sessions that are planned. So I know at one of the recent council meetings, council asked Mark to work on setting that schedule up front, and we have been working on that. And I think that this is one of the reasons why we're not kind of, getting ready to run. We are running. This project process is moving forward, and we're ready. This is the entire meeting schedule. So we do have preliminary venues, although we haven't confirmed all the venues, so it's not in this tonight. We will be utilizing the city's communication staff resources to make sure that these meetings are well publicized. The first real event, we will be doing this update with Plan Commission on August 7th. And then we'll be doing some webinars. This is just a way of getting the word out. We're hoping to use the city's Facebook page to do some live events and virtual webinars. And that's really, again, about getting the schedule out. It's really informative. But our first community outreach meeting is planned for August 28th. And then we have a town hall and another virtual webinar in September. And I see some folks are taking pictures, so I'm going to pause for a second because there's another slide here. And I'm going to go to the next slide now. And then we have another series of meetings in October, November, and then December. So 2 community outreach meetings planned for October, and then we have another town hall event and another community outreach in November. Checking in again in November with Planning Commission and Council. And then in December, that's when those 2 meetings that I described, starting the public review period, will happen. So we will ask Plan Commission to accept the plan and recommend that Council initiate the public comment period, the 63-day public comment period at their December 4th meeting. And we hope that Council will make the decision to initiate that public comment period on December 10th. And then we'll do another virtual webinar on the 11th so that everyone, all the members of the public, will know where that plan is located and have that time to review the document. So this is an ambitious schedule, but I think it's also a fun schedule. And thankfully, we have a lot of resources here at hand and a dedicated city staff to make sure that we are working with people and providing opportunities for people to come and attend these meetings. There will also be some online surveys throughout the process and other ways to participate as well. Kind of take a pause. That's the schedule. I would like tonight, assuming I have more time here, I'll check in with council.
Well, we're going to give you a little more time.
Yes.
We need to get to the meat of it, though.
That was the meat of it.
Okay,
That's
the
why I
meat?
paused.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what I really wanted to talk tonight was about the schedule.
That's it?
Yep.
You didn't want to talk about, earlier you said you want to talk about the stats and everything that you
That's
got.
the next phase. That's why I'm
Okay.
pausing here to make
All
sure.
right. Well, you got more time.
All right. So I'm going to run through some of the initial research. So we will be adding to the demographic profiles throughout the process. But one of the main reasons, I'm going to go back here. One of the main reasons we do this is because we need to recognize what the demographic patterns are, understand the historical context, but also think about how these could change in the future. Sometimes I also call this a validation. So everyone might have impressions about what they think about the community. We want to make sure that the numbers support those impressions. And by understanding the demographic trends, we can create a foundation for our planning and policy making. So as of 2022, this is the American Community Survey 2022. Pontiac is a very diverse community. The racial composition is majority black, 52%. And the second largest demographic is Caucasian white. But it's also a large Hispanic population in the city of Pontiac as well, with it's 25%, correct?
That's my understanding.
That's your understanding. The numbers aren't adding up to that right now. So 20% is what it's saying. So we had been saying, I'm checking because...
Order in the chambers. I know you're all excited about pie charts, but order in the chambers, please.
Pie charts are really fun. No, Mark and I had been saying 25%, but it's 20% as of the 2022. So that's pretty close to what we had thought. So this is interesting. It means that we have the strength of a diverse community, and we also have to make sure throughout the process that we engage with all the voices in this community so that we can, create a plan that has meaningful strategies for everybody. Languages spoken. This is another thing that we've been working on, is the idea about making sure we provide opportunity for translation services. And we do believe that Spanish is the most important language to make sure that we translate to. And this was kind of validated, this understanding is validated by the data. For population, the city has been experiencing a decline in population since 1970. However, not as much as some other comparable communities. The peak in Pontiac was about 87,000, I think it was, and now we are just over 60,000, but it's important to note that the number of people are rising, and I think with housing strategies, the potential to even add more people to Pontiac over the next 5 to 20 years is one important opportunity we should really think about in this planning process. Population density, this is a map that shows the amount of people per acre, and as would be expected, the largest concentrations of people are closer to the center of the city, although the overall population is fairly dense throughout the city. In the northern and eastern parts of the city, there's opportunity to maybe increase, but we'll explore that more with the future land use plan as we get into it. For housing trends, some of our findings, the median age is, housing age is 53 years, and that means that houses are a little old, but one of the things to think about is these houses were built very well, and this existing housing stock is a tremendous asset to the community. One of the things to think about in creating opportunities for new housing is making sure we're also creating strategies to invest in renovations to the housing stock, because the quality of this housing stock could not be rebuilt today for the same price. So there's a tremendous value in these homes in the city of Pontiac. The 61% of the housing is single-family detached. So in thinking about creating opportunities for middle housing or more diverse housing types, duplexes, triplexes, small apartment buildings, we would be adding to the diversity of the housing stock by creating those. 33% of the housing stock is 2 or more units. So there's an opportunity to create housing diversity as well. The median home value, this map shows how it kind of changes from neighborhood to neighborhood. The highest value homes are on the west side of the city. Some of the lowest value, median value homes are in the southeast side of the city. Although the differences and discrepancies here are not terribly substantial, there is an opportunity to think about home values as we develop strategies to reinvest in the city's housing stock and create new housing throughout the city. The vacancy rate in Pontiac is higher than statewide, 13% vacant compared to our statewide percentage of almost 2%. Still, 13% is not terribly high for a vacancy rate, and that means that there is fairly good turnover. The median home value in Pontiac is $100,000. Comparatively, Oakland County is $330,000 and Michigan is $224,000. So that is, affordability is often an opportunity, and I would continue to look at this as we think about how the city might set goals for new housing development. Income trends, Pontiac's income is also, median income is also lower than the surrounding areas, less than half of the overall median value for Oakland County. Notably though, Oakland County's median income is higher than the state's. But in thinking about our workforce development strategies, job access and job attraction, I think, is something important. But one of the things we discussed at the steering committee was also attracting high-quality jobs, high-paying jobs, and training for areas where the state is really growing. Income by household, you can see the higher incomes are on the north and west, and these patterns that we see are kind of similar trends to the median housing value and the income. So higher incomes towards the north and west side of the city and around downtown. Educational attainment compared with surrounding communities, and we're also going to expand our comparable search as we continue to develop this process. But the city of Pontiac is 16% with a bachelor's degree or higher which compared with other communities in Oakland County, it's fairly it's lower than the surrounding communities. So when we think about educational attainment and training, we also want to address access to education as a need for Pontiac residents. Employment by industries. The highest percentage of population or sector for work in the city of Pontiac is the education and healthcare sector, almost 20%. However, almost 20% also work in manufacturing. Retail at 14% is another high employment area. These are, strong sectors, and especially in a city that has an active downtown, having strong retail, entertainment, and food is certainly a sector that could be built, and something that we heard about as far as what people wanted to see for the vision of the future. Expanding those sectors is something that we would like to see. Again, top occupations, service-oriented businesses and professional administration. Less so management and business, but these are all fairly strong sectors for occupations. And then one of the things that is noticeable too is there with the transportation network around Pontiac, access to jobs within a 20-minute drive gets you a fair ways. So. You can get Pontiac residents within 20 minutes can get down to Royal Oak, over into Sterling Heights, and around into Commerce Township and White Lake on the west, up towards on the north, well into Oakland County. So job access, if teamed with appropriate transportation, there is an opportunity to work around the region if access can be paired with jobs. And I think that's something to think about for workforce development as well, is making sure we can pair people's professional occupations with where those jobs are placed, so we don't have a mismatch between training and job opportunity. And I kind of trimmed it down a little bit because I thought I might be running a little long on time. So thank you for your patience, everyone. I do want to share my contact information as well as Elnora's contact information, and of course, Mark, the planning manager. You can feel free to email or call any of us if you have questions. And we really look forward to working with everybody, and hope you do engage. Hope you do tell your friends, neighbors, colleagues about this process. We would love to get to know everybody and talk a lot about what's important for making Pontiac the best place it possibly could be, and helping to create the vision for the future.
Thank you very much. Are there any very, very brief questions of clarity from council members? Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman James, your microphone.
Okay. That December 11th meeting, will we review the full plan in that meeting, or will that plan be available online in that meeting?
Yes. So I think it's December 10th for council, and then we'll do a December 11th virtual webinar.
Yeah, the webinar. That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Will you be able to go through the whole plan at the webinar?
Yeah, we'll be previewing the plan and sharing a link where everyone can find it at that webinar.
Okay, so you're not going to go over the whole plan. You're just going to talk about it a little bit and share the link.
Yeah, I mean, I will go over substance, what's in the plan, and but if I were to do, read the whole plan, that would be too long. I think for a virtual webinar, we want to keep those interactions to about 20 minutes. So we'll do a summary of the plan contents and let people know where and how they can provide comments and review that document. Now, the whole draft plan will be available for Planning Commission and for Council before you make the decision.
Please, order in the chambers. You might think you're being discreet, but I have to look at the faces of all the people that sit behind you that are frustrated when there's constant side conversation. Please wrap up.
Oh, thank you so much. The whole plan will be available for the Planning Commission meeting when they make a recommendation to Council to initiate the 63-day comment period, and then council, you'll have the plan in your packet as well, so that you can make a decision after having read the plan that you are ready to receive public comment.
Any final questions? With that, that concludes the special presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
I know that we held a moment of silence earlier, but I did want to read names that the community has submitted. So basically, we're going to do another moment of silence, if you'll indulge me. Want to offer the names and lift them up in memory of neighbors that we've recently said goodbye to. Sean Bean, Eudoxia Carr, also known as Dot Carr, Doretha Giles, Eric Grandison, Sandy Hopkins III, Stanley Janik, Sandra McSwain, Luis Ramirez Cerda, Henry Shoemaker, a former city employee and the wife of a husband of a former city councilwoman, Susan Shoemaker, who was honored this evening by a resolution adopted. Dane Thomas, who served as the chair of the City of Pontiac's Planning Commission and was involved in the last master plan update a decade ago. He's just lost his battle with cancer, and a resolution honoring his service to the city was adopted tonight. Joyce Watkins and Vicki Williams. Please join us for a moment of silence, remembering those community members. Thank you very much. We are now at recognition of elected officials. Are there any current elected officials serving our community that want to give an update in regard to their role?
First, I give honor to God, who's the head of my life, to the mayor, to this honorable body. I would like for you all to understand we need to get out and vote right away. We need all absentee ballots returned back to the clerk's office, and to each and every one of you all that have not received one. As the Michigan Democrat voter protection woman, I'm asking and I'm begging you all, if you have not received it, please go into our clerk office. They are very friendly, and I need y'all to do y'all due diligently of getting this did. It's very important, and you have a voice. Don't ever believe that you don't have a voice. The pen helps changes things in this community. Amen.
Thank you. Other requests for recognition of elected officials?
Good evening, President McGinnis, Pro Tem Carrington, City Council, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. First, I would like to just send my condolences on the loss of very dear family. So just to let y'all know that I'm praying for y'all. Just very briefly on the charter, we will not have a charter meeting this Thursday. We will be at the District 4 meeting, which I believe is Councilwoman James's meeting. And then also we will be attending the District 1 meeting, that is Councilwoman Rutherford's meeting. Please make sure you exercise your franchise and let people know that the 9 days of early voting is coming up very soon. So I think on Saturday you'll be able to vote. Is that right, Mr. Clerk? On Saturday you'll be able to vote and exercise your right to make your voice heard. I do want to point out 3 things that are in the charter that most people don't know about. One is that you are able to vote on any sale of city parkland, thanks to Councilwoman James for bringing that to our attention. Also, a big change is that the City Council in Pontiac is the only city council that's mandated to meet every week, and we changed that to bi-monthly to give people a break. And then the third thing that is most important is we created an Office of Public Integrity to make sure that city resources, time, and staff are used appropriately for the people. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Are there any final requests for recognition of elected officials? Hearing none, we are now at agenda address. Pro Tem Carrington, any requests tonight?
Yes, we have several. Thank you, President McGinnis. Mr. Rick David.
Thank you. My name is Rick David. I live at 28 Franklin Boulevard in Pontiac. Been a resident here since '97. You may recall that I came heading the United Way of Oakland County, then headed up Lighthouse, and I was really one of the only large not-for-profit organization members, CEOs that lived in Pontiac, and I think that's still existing. I'm not sure why that is, but it has bothered me for some time. I did want to just talk a little bit about two things. One, just as a reminder that some years ago, the Federal Reserve out of Chicago did a study out of post-industrial cities. They selected in Michigan, Pontiac, and Grand Rapids, and they looked at 4 different elements of those cities, and they looked at whether they were transformational, resurgence, overwhelmed, and fading. We were overwhelmed along with Gary, Indiana. So we have been about that journey of trying to turn that around for some time. Is this just 2 minutes now?
This is agenda address, speaking to items on the agenda, 2-minute limit. Yes, sir.
Oh, I misunderstood then. I thought I was...
Do you want to keep talking about it, or you want to talk?
No, I thought I was going to talk about something else. I didn't know that. I
Sign up for agenda address.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The item that you wrote is on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
It's speaking to items on the agenda. The first item you're speaking about right now speaks to the master plan update, so you're able to speak.
I'm sorry.
And then the Transportation Museum is on the agenda as a communication, so you can give that.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here we go then. I'm sorry. We have established a new transportation museum in the former Crowfoot School. And out of that issue of fading city, we're looking at what could help us being more economic development and what could celebrate our past. So I'd invite you, we had the Crowfoot School has been redone. It was a 55,000 square foot building. We're having our grand opening on Saturday. And I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. I take this work very seriously as a director. We separated ourselves from the Illinois organization. We have a separate 501c3, and we're about making a big difference. So we celebrate our past. We look forward to the economic development that can occur, and we invite you to come to the Crowfoot School at 250 West Pike, coming up on Saturday from 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. Amen. Sorry the mix-up.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. Ms. Rosalind Norcross and Mr. Carlton Jones will be next.
Good evening. I'm Rosalind Northcross, and I've been in Pontiac since 1970. And I've watched how the neighborhood is becoming unwalkable because of the sidewalks being covered with weeds and other vegetation. I hope that you will pass this ordinance on grass height and penalties for subsequent offenses, because it's not safe having to walk in the street because you can't walk on the sidewalk because of the vegetation that's covering the sidewalk. Just recently, I reported vegetation at a property on Woodward at Luther. They came out and they did cut the weeds, but they threw the weeds on the sidewalk, which still makes it difficult for you to walk on the sidewalk. So I'm hoping that this ordinance is going to make a difference so that the sidewalks can become something that residents can enjoy and take a walk. The other item has to do with yard waste. Since Priority took over, my yard waste has been picked up once. Currently, it's still sitting on the sidewalk. And I call in to report it. I don't get a response back as to when it might be or should I take it in or anything. So it would be good if someone would just, when you call in, just either text me back or I leave my email address or something. Let the people on the street know whether we should take it in or when we can expect service. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norcross. Mr. Carlton Jones. And Dr. Deirdre Waterman on deck.
Good evening. I've got 3 items that I want to address that was on the agenda. When we talked about the trash pickup and I think we kind of seen this coming based upon how late it came to be us trying to put this together. But the company in their response to me didn't seem as if though they're living up their name, giving us top priority. It just didn't seem like we was given top priority because this company, we should not have to run them down to see if we're not being serviced properly. Hopefully that we're going to go ahead and try to make amends. But I just get sick and tired when we're not treated as top priority, especially when we are spending our dollars. That's just not what Pontiac deserves. The master plan. I want to talk a little bit about the master plan because we've been waiting a long time talking about the master plan. And I think one of the things that happened every time people want to skirt past it, but it was quite evidence in that report that the income level of Pontiac compared to the state, to the county, is just so low. It just don't nothing you can say about it. But that's directly related to workforce development. Now, I know normally master plans, you don't have workforce development. We kind of added in there because we haven't gave workforce development proper attention in our city. And that's what's really going to turn our city around. So the last thing I want to talk about tonight for agenda is these dollars that we spending up on this ARPA, this COVID dollars. We have not been quite honest with us as the residents about how this money should be spent. And right now, we got some items on this agenda right now. I need to know exactly where it is, what category that we continuously want to give to consultants who don't live here. That's why we don't get income raised. We give our money to everybody else but people here. And we have to come to grips with that's why our income is so low. We issue contracts to everybody in other cities. That's why they have high incomes and we have low ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
Good evening. Start out with the master plan. That was one of the first things I did in my administration. We did that, and we did such a complete write-up that it lasted for a good while, longer than the 5 years, but we didn't get around to doing it again because the last 2 years of the administration were, and we were in COVID. So in the pandemic, so you're getting to take it up now. So it's very important for the development of the city. But mainly, I want to talk once again about the use of the ARPA funds, okay? And so much of the ARPA funds should have come to citizens and to our small businesses. You know, that's who we're supposed to be servicing with those COVID relief funds. And a number of times I've come and talked to council about being misled and how that money is being used. And again last week, the deputy mayor came and gave a presentation about the use of the ARPA funds, which was really quite frenetic. It was hard to understand. But basically, he was saying, you're not going to have as much money for the, you know, you're taking it out of the homeowners and the small business, the people you should be servicing most. Those are the people that it was intended for, primarily. That's why I fought for the 37.7 million. So it's very disappointing that once again, you are taking money out rather than increasing it. And so many people don't have the opportunity to avail themselves of that. Again, on your agenda, it wasn't enough that you told us that you're not going to have enough and you're going to have to decrease it last week. But this week, you're asking council, council, to look at placemaking, $400,000. Okay, rather than adding that to the people who need it the most and who you should be servicing. A few weeks ago, you took out another $300,000 for city parties, city events. And I think that's not a good use. That's not keeping faith with the people. You have the right to appropriate it differently. I hope you will do that because there's a lot of people who should have access to that money and they shouldn't be cheated out of their fair share.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Mr. Brent Reynolds, you have miscellaneous items. Are they on the agenda?
And the charter provision.
Okay, but are the miscellaneous items on the agenda? Because you didn't write them down.
I didn't. ARPA would be my miscellaneous item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I want to reiterate, I have 2 minutes. I'd like to echo, as we like to say here, or enhance, or lift, or enlighten what Ms. Waterman just said. Madam Mayor brought the city $37.9 million. Tim Greimel immediately took, as the day that it was possible to do this, he took $10 million and put it into the city slush fund. $10 million disappeared overnight without any community input whatsoever. There was not one public hearing. There was not one council person that called their constituents and said, do you want this $10 million to go into the city slush fund? That is inappropriate. I'm sorry, I'm not to address the chair. I'm addressing the House. I'm more accustomed to doing that. So that's the first thing I'd like to bring up. People need to look very carefully. I call it Tim's 10, and that we need to fight Tim's 10. We need to fight this administration on what the shenanigans that they pulled with the ARPA money. Secondly, many people have said, I will vomit on the spot if $1 goes back. Many people have said, I will resign if $1 goes back. I want us to be ready to hold their feet to the fire when $1 goes back, because I wager, I'll bet $100 that $100 will go back. Maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000. But if it's a single dollar, every member of this chamber needs to go. I'd like to just say that today I went to the city clerk's office to find out why I'm not on the election roll. My voice is shaking because I've been talking to the sheriff outside in the hall. And I'm no longer an election worker in the city of Pontiac because I'm not presentable enough, I'm not articulate enough, or there has been some retaliation or there's been some communication from a council person that I'm not appropriate to be an election worker. So I've talked to the county about that today, and unfortunately it's too late now. It's too late for me to earn $1,700, which that's what the seniors would have earned that Oakland University students are now getting. Seniors, you need to know that.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Ms. Melissa Goings.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Goins, and I live in Seminole Hills. I've lived in Pontiac for 7 years. I'm talking about the sidewalks. I've lived here. I love this area. I've promoted. I think it's a wonderful area, but our sidewalks are so dangerous, and I've been injured my own self very badly by just walking my dog because the sidewalks are heaved, and I'm wondering, is there a plan? I know there are for other areas. I've come to other meetings, my district meeting, and talked about it. I did talk with it when I went to a historical committee meeting and asked if there is a plan for our area. I was told that our area is, our income level is too high to receive federal funding. I did live in Royal Oak for 25 years, and we had no problems with our sidewalks because the city made us pay for them. And I heard that because our area can't receive federal funding, they're afraid to have our area pay for them because other areas haven't had to pay for them. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of plan for that before the entire system falls apart. I mean, I don't know if any of you have walked. I know Brett's not here, but it is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. There are heaves. I have pictures that are 6-7 inches high, and it's all over the entire area and also in our neighboring area, and it's just terrible. And I've talked about it several times. I have not come to a council meeting before, and I'm sorry, I did break the rules. And I know my time is running out. I was trying to ask about our recycling, which we do pay for here in Pontiac, is just being thrown in the truck. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be addressed. Is our money going to be refunded? And when is there going to be a recycling truck instead of it just being thrown into the garbage truck? Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a specific answer to your question. I see that you've left your number. I'm going to share that with the mayor and deputy mayor so that they can follow up because you're not alone. There are other residents who subscribe to the direct recycling curbside service, and the new vendor has discontinued that. So if they're throwing it in the trash, they're presuming that it is part of the bulk pickup or the trash collection. There's no longer curbside recycling offered through priority.
Their contract thing, it said it was going to be continued.
And the executive side is under the mayor, so I'll work to have them follow up to give you specific answers.
Next is Mr. Robert L. Calvin, Jr.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Grimel, Deputy Mayor Stevens, council members, residents. Again, my name is Robert L. Calvin, Jr. I'm a resident at 1134 Fieldstone Court in Pontiac. Been here just a little over a year. Was a 40-plus year resident in Lansing area. And my subject matters today are agenda items 6, 7, and 9. As it relates to, first, grants and Philanthropy Department, agenda item 6. I want to talk about, again, ARPA monies used for professional services, Ernest and Young outside of Pontiac, $25,000 a month. That'll be used for for consulting fees. Secondly, on agenda item 7, for the fiscal year 24-25, a grant fund of $30,000 from the Michigan Economic Development to help assist with the master plan. And I understand that. I wanted to piggyback on what Mr. Carlton Jones said. I did a job fair here. As a new resident, I conducted a job fair back in March, trying to get skilled trades. I'm a project engineer by profession. I build projects all over the country, and I'm located right here in this community. We had maybe 28 people attend our job fair. 5, we offered jobs. This was with Green Shield deck builders, skilled trade positions. Only 1 person showed up for the position to work. I want to increase as Mr. Jones said, workforce development in skilled trades, increase income levels, whereby we could have individuals buying homes and be able to afford, have a legacy building process as well. I'm willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kermit Williams.
Good evening. I want to shift to talk about the master plan first, just to address the ARPA dollars. In full transparency, we had a former mayor who put $6 million into the budget to spend ARPA money before it was even to the citizens and general fund during COVID. So I just wanted to let the audience know when people talk about their champions of certain dollars or things, they need to make sure it's full transparency out to the community. But I wanted to talk about the master plan. One of the things that I noticed in the 7 pillars that the council was talking about was it did not mention diversity. The report that Mr. David talked about said that Pontiac's greatest asset was his people. And so I would really want y'all to consider front-loading the community meetings instead of back-loading them after the plan is already developed. When we worked on the master plan almost 15 years ago, we had meetings at the Holland Center, all of the other community rec centers with people. Some of those people are in this room that had input in order to make sure that that was done. Second thing is we have 52% African Americans according to the data they pulled up. We don't have a black business corridor in the city of Pontiac. I think Auburn Street should be that perfect corridor, and I think in the master plan we need to look at it. We have a Family Dollar, and no disparagement to Family Dollar, right across the street from City Hall. The master plan says that's supposed to be a bank building or commercial industrial building in the city. But because we haven't coupled it with the planning and the zoning at the same time, we end up with these kind of things in the city. Last thing I want to say is if you look at the city of Pontiac, until you get all the way to the KFC on Woodward and Birmingham, you don't see any more fast food because they have a drive-through ordinance in those cities to make sure that they're not overrun with those kind of things. So if they want to open up a bank, people have to get a variance in order to do that. And so as we're talking about the master plan, I think most and best uses should be talked about as part of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Darlene Clark, what item? Item number 3.
Good afternoon, Council and administration, to the residents that's in listening ear. I'm here to speak at number 3. First and for my advice, Council, you have the greatest treasure sitting at your disposal in the administration, and you choose not to use it. The question the people keep saying, and they're saying the same thing over and over and over again, and it's hard for me to grab when people say the same thing over and over again. Pontiac people, we already know the problem, what's wrong with Pontiac. The administration nor the council is not listening. You talk about the overgrown grass. We've been talking about that for 3 years of this administration. Each council have in their district to address those issues, and they have a small pot to help clear some of the problems up. but they have not done that. They had a budget in their district. So when you come here and you talk about the weeds and the overgrown grass, this stuff didn't just happen because of rain, hard rain last night. It didn't happen yesterday. Frickin' has been going on before the administration and after the administration got here. It happened in the last administration, and it happened in this administration. They are not listening. Please get the memo. They're not listening to our kids walking down on the sidewalk. They don't want that. They want our kids to walk in the street. They want the city to look like it looked. And why? We call that gentrification. I can't get any clearer than that. If we continue on the road that we're on where the administration is not hearing and the council is not addressing the needs of the people, we will not have a city. And let me say this also. It's very overwhelming when the people are asking you for help and you go on deaf ear. Remember, those seats are up in another year.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller, what items? 2. Thank you.
I may jump around a little bit. I want to first start out by saying, yes, the master plan, the plan is City of Pontiac. This is the plan, gentrification. I want to ask a question, and Councilman Parker, you can answer me. What is the status of Lancaster? Has it been sold to Amazon?
No.
Okay. Because you want to straighten it out because that's going around the city, that it's been sold. Okay, another thing. The plan is, how are you going to have a plan and the residents not involved in it? Those people that was on that board, none of them live here. You the plan. You get the plan and stuff. See, this is what I'm saying. And Carlton hit it right on the nose. None of our kids are getting these jobs. I didn't know you did that. I know a lot of young people. They need jobs. And I'm just going to put it out there. Pontiac, you know me. I'm telling you like it is. They don't want us to come up. They want us to move us out. They're putting C3s in R1 residential area. Do you see other communities put businesses in the neighborhood? But we doing it. Why are we allowing them to do that? Because once you put that business in the neighborhood, I didn't know that till I learned it from Carlton. Very informative guy. Your price of your home go down. It goes down. So why are we doing it in Pontiac? Because somebody asked me the other day, they called me at home, said, Councilwoman Miller, why did they do Pontiac? I said, because the citizens of Pontiac been beat down so much that they're just tired. They're tired of the bull. When you see a mayor come here and administration and the council, I don't care if you related to them. If they ain't doing you no good, get them out of here. Look at your city. Since that mayor been here, do you see these streets look any better? Let me be real.
Hey, Ms. Miller, I'm giving you leeway, but you need to come back to the agenda.
This is the master. This is the plan. The master plan. What is the plan?
Okay, gotcha.
This is the plan. What is going on with? Everything that they're proposing, everything is already done when it comes up here. Pay attention to that. Time for a change plan. We got to get them out of here.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes our agenda address, President McGinnis.
Okay, we're at number 3 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 122, Article 3, Section 122-78 of the Municipal Code to change the penalties for subsequent offenses related to grass height, noxious weeds, and rank vegetation? Support. It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. This was before us at last week's council meeting. Administration, any further context you'd like to share?
Well, the one thing that I do want to emphasize, since a couple of members of the public have suggested that we're not trying to address tall grass or blight, is that our Code Enforcement Division has issued literally thousands of citations in just the 2 or 3 past months for tall grass alone. So we have a very hardworking Code Enforcement Division. We have our Assistant Code Enforcement Manager here, Clarence Cohen, who can certainly speak to that. But our code enforcement officers are working tirelessly to try to clean up the city. And I think is it 3,000 tall grass violations or 2,000 in just the, yeah, so a little over 2,000 violations have been issued just in the past 2.5 months roughly for tall grass violations. So our code enforcement team is working very, very hard to clean up our city.
Councilman Rutherford, Councilman Goodman.
Mr. Cohen, if you could go to this, Mike, I just want to ask you just 2 questions so that we can get some clarity and truth. I like truth. Truth is what sets you free. That's what the Bible says. Mr. Cohen, just so that we understand, can you explain to the audience and the residents at home how we get our reports from you about each district, saying how many tickets have been wrote, the continuation, and what happens after a person gets their first flight of tickets? What happens in the continuation of getting tickets? For example, if I own a property, I didn't cut the grass after how to go to 7 days. Explain it step by step. I think it's important so that the residents know how it's done, so that they don't get misinformation. That's my first question. Then my second question is on annual. I know you can't do every district, so I'm going to use me. In District 1 alone, how many tickets did you write last month? And now it's your turn, so I yield to you, sir.
Okay, so the grass cutting process is we issue an enforcement, give them 7 days. If they don't cut the grass within 7 days, the contractor will go out on the 8th day, and they will cut the grass.
Okay.
That's
the first step.
Yes. And the second, I don't have the exact number for your district.
Mm-hmm. I do. I just want to know if you knew.
Yeah, I didn't.
343 tickets was wrong. 343. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's easy to say what's not happening, because prior to us getting here, all this was outsourced. And so that's why these things are being put in place, ladies and gentlemen, so that people are held accountable. I think it's important that you know the truth and not just banter. My last question, just for the road. Currently, how many code enforcement officers do we have?
14 inspectors.
And how many part-times?
2.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Goodman.
Yeah, so to continue on that, thank you, Code Enforcement, for all that you do, because, again, before this council was here, we did not have an in-house code enforcement. Secondly, we massively funded the code enforcement that we do have.
Thank you.
Because separate of, tall grass, you guys handle all of the rental inspections.
Yes.
Now, me and you talk about this a lot. How many rental inspections have you done in the past year? Just an estimate. You ain't got to give exact numbers.
Oh, I think it's like 7,000 or more.
How many?
Rental inspections. I don't know the exact number to that.
But you say 7,000 is being conservative.
It is.
Because I remember, I think last year when we were just discussing one of the ordinances surrounding protecting tenants that you guys have been really helpful in doing. Yes. I believe, since you guys had been brought in-house and were doing rental inspections, up until that year and a half, you had done about 20,000.
Oh, it was 17.
Okay,
yeah,
17,000.
That's right. Sorry about that.
Code enforcement is doing things now that you've been brought in-house, and we've been, giving you the resources to do things. But things don't happen overnight, do they?
No, we can't do that. We have to get the same process to everybody. So
now,
be fair.
Speaking about processes, I do want to pull us back to grass for a second, because I think the citizens really need to understand that, when it comes to reporting grass to code enforcement or to a council person, that there is a timeline to how these things go.
Yes.
If from my understanding, one, when you give a ticket, the tenant or owner can mow it themselves. Or if they don't mow it, it has to, you said it's 7 days.
Yep.
And then the court has to give an abatement, or is that just something that you can do after 7 days because of the ordinance?
The ordinance allows us to go out on the 8th day and cut it.
But before that, you cannot.
Yep, can't cut it.
So there's a minimum of 7 days if the person does not mow it themselves for the city to be able to have it taken care of.
Yes, and the lot owners, we give them 10 days because, of course, we have to mail it out to them. We can't just tag a tree or something on a lot.
So just as an understanding,
it's a lot of back and forth.
I know. I apologize, Michael. But just to point it out, there is a amount of time that it requires for you to be able to send someone out to do these abatements for a tall grass, even if it's caught. If it's called in immediately, there is still a time process.
Yes.
If the person itself that owns it does not take care of it.
Yes. If we give one person 7 days, we have to give everybody 7 days. Yes.
So I really hope that the community fully understand that there is a minimum period for some of this.
That's right.
Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President.
And by the way, only Pro Tem Carrington. So if you are in the audience right now and you are speaking constantly, you are violating the rules of the People's Council meeting. So please, this gentleman has the floor and him alone. Please stop violating the rules, or else you will forfeit your ability to participate in the balance of the meeting and the public comment. Pro Tem Carrington.
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. I just want to talk about the issue of blight in our community. Blight is definitely a problem through our city of Pontiac, as well as several neighboring communities. As council, we have actually brought in so many code enforcement officers, which we have cross-trained to look at rental inspections as well. As council, we get a report every month concerning how many tickets been wrote, how many homes been inspected. We can definitely see the increase in having an in-house code enforcement. Now, one of the issues that we see is that land, lots, homes are sometimes owned by out-of-state companies. It takes a long period of time to get those companies in sync, and that's why we're here tonight trying to increase some of these penalties for second offenses. Some lots are city-owned. On the first one, as well as the rest of the council, is to understand what we own and what we don't own. Some are owned by the state of Michigan, some are owned by Oakland County. Some are owned by residents in Pontiac that have 15 to 20 lots that don't cut them at all. We see all these reports. We see our neighbors that don't cut their lots. So it's a lot of issues when it comes to blight enforcement. But in the last 15 years, I definitely have saw the improvements of our neighborhoods. Is it perfect? No, it's not. Are we working towards perfection? Yes, we are. And it takes time. It takes time. So again, I definitely like the work that the code enforcement is doing. I remember a time where code enforcement, when I wasn't on this council, would tell me that they didn't know who owned the land. At least we don't get that no more. At least they figured out who owned the properties in this city. So it's definitely have some. Well, sometimes, most of the time they do know. Sometimes they don't. But it's the truth. We are improving. Code enforcement has got better. DPW is working. It's a lot of this inner department stuff that has to happen to make us better. It has to be better, more communication between departments. But definitely, blight is an issue. I'm the first one that's on every morning I'm sending emails concerning blight as I drive around the city, as well as the rest of the council. So we definitely are very concerned with what happened. I've seen the president at times out clearing sidewalks themselves as well as events. I see it all the time. I see some of our neighbors in parks cleaning because they want to be a part of the process to help this city become more beautiful in our city. Just this past week, council has been out putting out pride and beautification signs throughout several districts. A lot of homes deserve those signs. Maybe some didn't, but they got nominated by the residents. All right, so it's so many things we can do in this city. And, I'm not one to complain about what we don't have. I'm one to want to put in the work. And I welcome any resident that wanted to get side by side with us, call it cleanup. And I'm sure this council will be there with our dollars, that little bitty funds that we have. We don't have much, but we have a little bit that we can help in some of these community cleanups. And thank you.
Please, audience members, cease. Councilman Rutherford, you have the floor.
Okay. I want everybody to breathe. It's all right. It's all good. I want you to explain to the audience really quickly, because some people don't know, when does this actually go into effect if we vote on this tonight, and what's going to be the increase of the dollars on the owners, so that they are aware of when it actually goes into effect, please.
If I'm not mistaken, it goes into effect. We have to post it for 10 days, and then it would go into effect after that. Right. So the process would be the second ticket, second offense of grass violation. It would go to $100 for that. Third, fourth, fifth would be a $500 district court ticket.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion before us? This is the second reading of an ordinance amendment. It's dealing with the grass height, noxious weeds, and rank vegetation. Pro Tem Carrington laid it out well, but I just want to give specific examples. This city council has voted to invest in the city having in-house mowing equipment. This city council has voted to expand dramatically the number of code enforcement inspectors. This city council has voted to authorize the purchase of vehicles so that code enforcement officers can inspect the tens of thousands of properties in our city. So that's specifically to grass. We have taken additional measures. It was invoked in the agenda address. There have been multiple district projects that have been dealing directly with cleanups in our neighborhoods in our community. Councilwoman Rutherford has invested district project funds into allowing for dumpsters at neighborhood cleanups. I've done district projects that have been about cleanups, giving the tools to community members to take action. And we have made it so that there is direct contractors who can dramatically handle the large volume once it's been assigned if a property owner does not cut their own grass, so that it can be done dramatically faster than it has been historically. So this is another example, what is before us, of taking further legislative action so that way code enforcement has greater tools to deal with this issue, because it's a problem in all corners of our city. And we want all neighborhoods, all streets to be clear of this nuisance. And so we welcome other feedback or from community members on how you'd like to see that addressed. This is one potential action should the council take it tonight. Councilwoman James.
I just want to add to what you said, is not only do we want to see it, but our residents want to see it, because in delivering the Pride and Beautification signs, we hear over and over again, we appreciate, we see the improvement, and the residents are also concerned about their neighborhoods, people keeping up their property. So we get very positive feedback on the work that you guys are doing. That's all. I just want to make that clear.
And Councilwoman James, I want to celebrate the District 4 project that cleared the overgrowth along Telegraph north of Hawthorne Park. That is a very welcome improvement.
Thank you.
Councilman Parker?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to ask Brother Court if you would please explain briefly the system of blight court, because we've implemented blight court and took it from just something here that we do at court itself. Can you express
system of blight court or
yeah.
district where we are now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the district court, when a ticket is issued, first it goes, I can't think of the name. So if they don't appear, then it's a default. That default, then the next appearance will be a show cause. So if it's no show cause appearance, then we can move forward to an abatement, or will normally be siding with us for the no appearance.
Okay. How do we get to a abatement through blight court?
Okay, when the ticket is issued,
reason I'm asking this question is,
let's say the ticket is issued for accumulation of rubbish or trash outside of the house. We'll get them, normally the judge, if they show up, the judge will get them and say, okay, I give you 30 days, get this cleaned up, we'll revisit this in 30 days. If it's not done in those 30 days, the judge will grant the abatement.
And how much is the charge? Do you know?
It depends on how much trash it is and the quote from the contractor.
Does it also include weeds and grass and all of that?
Yes.
Okay. So our code enforcement guys also, as they're going through inspecting places and weeds come up and the owner haven't paid for it and they fail to acknowledge or do anything, it still has to go through court for it to be legislated, correct?
Not if it's just grass. If it's just grass, then they can just issue the enforcement and the grass contractor can just go out there the following week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any final discussion? Hearing no final discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 122, Article 3, Section 122-78 of the Municipal Code to change the penalties for subsequent offenses related to grass height, noxious weeds, and rank vegetation.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The ordinance is amended. We're at number 4 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution supporting
So
water
moved.
affordability legislation?
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. This is introduced by Councilman Goodman. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, sorry, I had to pull it up. So to quickly go over a couple of things, because a lot of people may not know what this is. So back in October of last year, there was a package of bills called the Water Affordability Package through the legislature that would create a low-income residential water affordability program for which qualifying individuals would not pay more than an average of 3% of their household income for water services, and if eligible, receive forgiveness for past due water bills and household plumbing repairs to prevent water loss. This, as well as multiple other things, would create a larger fund that would again be to make water more affordable for more households across Michigan, more especially in the southeast Michigan area. A lot of us already have some form of water affordability. There is a water affordability program that exists within Oakland. However, that money is limited. The issue that happens in Macomb County is that that water affordability program has fully met its capacity. I have friends who are on city commissions in cities in Macomb as well, and that program has met its limit. And a lot of people are in need of having affordable water and being able to pay their water bills. So to make sure that this gets handled in lame duck, as some of you know how politics works, some things don't happen when they should be happening during the year, and people wait until the period after an election where there are no consequences to the decision. So I am using this time to have our city council, a grouping of people in a city that would be very much benefited by this water legislation, to call upon the legislature to push this forward to make sure that it happens not just for our citizens, but for the many people who are in the region as well.
Any final discussion? With that, roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution supporting the water affordability legislation under consideration in the Michigan legislature.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We're at number 5 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution
So
supporting the
moved.
Voting Rights
Support.
Act legislative package? It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, second by Pro Tem Carrington, also introduced by Councilman Goodman. I give the floor to him.
Thank you. This one is probably a little bit takes a little bit less time to try to cram in information and explain. The Voting Rights Act is a very important thing that is very important to a lot of people, especially if for some reason at any point in time in history, your voting rights may have been disenfranchised. So in making sure that the state of Michigan is doing everything that it can to protect and expand voting rights here while they are under threat elsewhere federally, and as the needed amount of states to fully agree to maintaining good standards in our federal government sometimes don't like to do that. We are making sure that here in the state of Michigan, we're doing everything that we can. So there is a set of bills that passed through the Senate and is moving into the legislature that would do the equivalent of passing a Michigan Voting Rights Act to enshrine our protections here in the state of Michigan. And again, especially in a community like Pontiac, protecting and enshrining voting rights is dramatically important. So that is why this is here.
Pro Tem Carrington. Thank you, sir. Pro Tem.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Just echoing the councilman, it's very important that we continue to look for several ways to make sure that we continue to fight for voting rights. If you look at many southern states, African-American power is diminished through voter suppression tactics in many states. So here in Michigan, we really have it good when it comes to voting rights. But we have to continue to fight for voting rights each and every day that we hear, because different groups look to keep us from going to the ballot. Voting is power. I know some people believe that voting doesn't matter. It matters on so many issues when we go to the polls and fight. Our veterans wouldn't have rights if it wasn't for voting rights. Civil rights bills would have been passed if it wasn't for voting rights. So everything we do in this nation comes down to making sure that we get to the ballot and fight for voting rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution supporting the Michigan Voting Rights Act legislative package.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We're at number 6 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving the contract with Ernst & Young for the American Rescue Plan Act Compliance Team Professional Services with a not-to-exceed monthly amount of $25,000?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Pro Tem Carrington, second by Councilwoman James. We can now begin debate. Mayor and Administration, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I want to introduce this topic by just setting the record straight. I know that there have been concerns expressed by members of the public that somehow hiring a consulting firm is taking work that might otherwise go to Pontiac residents. I want to be really clear that the person who's been serving as our grants compliance analyst and continues to serve in that capacity is, in fact, a Pontiac resident and has long been a Pontiac resident and has deep roots in our community. But the ARPA program has a lot of detailed regulations, rules, reporting requirements. It requires a lot of expertise to make sure that we're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and getting this right. And so most communities have had not just their general grants compliance analyst handle this, but specialized positions, especially if they have tens of millions of dollars of ARPA funds to deal with. And so other communities have used E&Y as a firm to handle this. Other communities, alternatively, in some cases, have had specific designated employee positions just to handle ARPA dollars. But we had to look at what was the most cost-effective approach here. And this is not a contract for $25,000 per month. It is an hourly contract to pay the consulting firm based on the hours actually worked. It has a limit of no more than $25,000 per month, but the vast majority of months we anticipate are going to be substantially less than that. And if you think about the annual rate of that, it is certainly less expensive, more cost-effective to have an outside firm do this than to have two, for example, dedicated in-house positions do this between salaries and benefits. The other thing I would say is that all of the ARPA dollars have to be obligated by the end of this year and spent by the end of 2026. And so this role is by nature a finite role. This is not a permanent position because ARPA dollars are not a permanent funding source. So I just want to be clear about the role of this consultant. It is by its very nature a temporary role, and it is designed to supplement, not displace, the important work that a Pontiac resident is doing as our grants compliance analyst in her in-house employment position. I also want to just take a moment and set the record straight regarding some other misinformation that we heard. I know that someone criticized the allocation of $10 million to the general fund. That is an allowed allocation under federal law. The city did, in fact, have a lot of public hearings and opportunities for public feedback. That feedback was collected, it was considered, and $10 million is allowed under federal law for revenue loss because during COVID, cities lost a lot of tax revenue that hit general funds very hard. I've never heard a general fund before tonight referred to as a slush fund because a general fund funds all of the services that are so important to the quality of life in our city. And it's by allocating this amount to the general fund that we've been able to increase and improve our public services that our residents rely on. Things like code enforcement, for example, among many other improvements, including better parks maintenance, more park staff, and other improvements in our quality of life. I also just want to take a moment to emphasize as well, to correct some misinformation that was shared tonight, that we have not diverted a single penny away from the home improvement program or the small business assistance program. We allocated a little over $3.3 million to the home improvement program. That was done in collaboration with City Council, and there is still that full $3.3 million plus dollars going to the home improvement program. We allocated a little over $2.5 million to small business assistance, and there is still that full $2.5 million plus dollars going to small business assistance. So we are not diverting any funds away from those important programs that directly benefit residents and our local entrepreneurs compared to the original allocation amounts. And with that, I want to turn it over to our legal director, Joanne Gurley, as well as our grants director, Lisa Campbell, to present this agenda item and why this assistance is so important.
Good evening, City Council, staff, mayor, and residents. The council has before it a resolution to hire a compliance firm. As you may remember, back on April 30th of this year, council did approve the administration's resolution to hire a compliance firm to assist with the managing and monitoring of the American Rescue Plan Act funding. The city received $37.7 million as part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And as the mayor stated, there is a lot of reporting that needs to be done to make sure that the city doesn't have to return any money for not meeting its obligations as far as the U.S. Treasury Department rules are concerned. So after looking at what kind of services does the city need to engage in order to comply with the federal rules, we looked at what compliance firms were out there, what were they doing to assist various municipalities. And so what's unique about Ernst & Young is that they've assisted with compliance. Thank you. So what's unique about Ernst & Young is that they also assisted the U.S. Department of Treasury with coming up with some of the final rules for reporting and managing the ARPA dollars that the communities are responsible for reporting. So tonight, the resolution here shows that there's an hourly fee, and it really depends on who the Grants and Philanthropy Department engages for services. So the services will range anywhere from $200 an hour to $360 an hour, depending on who is utilized. And as the mayor reiterated, this is a pay-as-you-go. If you do not use the services, you will not be charged. And so we have one of the managing partners of Ernst & Young appearing virtually. He is in Washington, D.C. tonight. His name is Brian Jarzynski, and he is here to answer any additional questions that you may have. And I welcome any questions.
Pro Tem Carrington, followed by Councilman Rutherford.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. I definitely think it's important for us to get some assistance on this. Many communities, once receiving their ARPA funds, immediately hired a professional service to help them implement their ARPA funds. Flint in itself paid millions of dollars for that assistance, millions of dollars. And we have a contract that say up to $25,000 based hourly. We actually getting over. So this is something that we should have done probably about over 2 years ago. But I'm just glad that we're able to do it now, and hopefully we won't have to send $1 back to the federal government by helping to get this assistance. Thank you.
Councilman Rutherford.
Questions for the administration. How long has this been your idea? Meaning, like, how long have you guys been trying to bring these people in? Secondly, you stated earlier to the mayor that there are other communities that have used this particular organization. Which are those communities? So that we can
I said other.
No. He said it.
Oh, he said it.
Not you.
Okay.
Thank you. The mayor stated earlier when he was presenting it that there were other communities that have used this particular organization. So I want to know if he can name those other communities. So I yield to the administration.
Mayor Kraft.
Yeah, I know that Flint has used these kinds of services. I know that a number of communities in Wayne County have used these services, and communities, frankly, across the country have used these services. I know that we can certainly ask this particular firm where they have worked, but it's been well publicized that communities across the country and around the state of Michigan have used these kinds of consulting services to help make sure that they're properly spending and reporting on the allocation of ARPA dollars. So certainly if you're interested in the specific communities where E&Y has done this work, they can answer that. I know that our legal director, Joanne Gurley, may have some insight into that as well, because I know that there's been a contract through Wayne County, I believe. It's Director Gurley who really looked into that. But these kinds of service provisions have been commonplace across the country in terms of this work. And it took us a few months to really hone in on E&Y and properly vet them, have a conversation with them about how the costs would be structured, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't just hiring any firm, we weren't hiring a fly-by-night entity. We wanted to make sure that we were hiring the best, that we were hiring a firm with a proven track record of successfully managing this, and we're confident that E&Y is that firm.
Director Gurley, does the representative from Ernst & Young wish to elaborate on their client list of other communities?
Hi, Brian. Are you able to answer those questions? I know you've assisted more than 100 municipalities, but council would like to know in particular some of the names of those municipalities.
Of course. And you can hear me?
To a degree. Feel free to amplify yourself.
I'll do my best. So, yeah, we've are in the process of supporting across the spectrum of states, counties, municipalities, north of 150 clients across the U.S. Director Gurley, I provided you a list of some of those clients as well, but more localized. I believe Wayne County's been mentioned. We also do work in states to the south, some other entities within the state of Michigan. We can provide more locations for you. One thing I would point out, as the mayor talked about as well, is, some communities require more services than others. And so the way we've designed, the assistance in this circumstance as well is to help you where and for exactly what you need it for. So we have some relationships where we're, without getting too far into the details, the ARPA compliance program, and we have others where we're providing more advisory services or doing partial. Maybe it's strategic analysis, making sure from a statutory perspective that the reporting's accurate, but allowing, as I think in the city's situation, the grants team do what the grants team does. How the city operates is perfectly effective. So our role is more to just keep abreast of Treasury's rules and regulations. In fact, they just issued some new FAQs on obligations by December 31st and so forth, versus more full service. So, it kind of goes across the board in terms of types of things that we do. We've implemented full grants reporting programs and whatnot across the country. So Director Gurley has some more of that information we provided at a high level, but happy to talk more about it if you have any additional questions.
Councilwoman James for a first time, followed by Councilman Rutherford.
So our contract would be more in line with advisory. So they would be working specific projects on an as-needed basis. Is that how this is going to operate, or are they going to be more evaluative, looking at what we have and recommending what needs to be done, like strategic planning and awareness? Just trying to get a feel for how we are going to utilize this company.
Seems like the mayor wanted to field that first.
Sure.
Yeah, and certainly our legal director can weigh in as well. But in our conversations with E&Y, what we've talked about is really twofold, kind of right out of the gate. Number one, helping with reporting, so helping to account for and report the funds, but also, and very importantly, really helping to drive the ship, if you will, keep the trains running on time, particularly during the coming months when we have an obligation deadline to actually obligate these funds. So making sure that they're helping to coordinate different tasks within different departments that are needed to properly and timely obligate these funds in a way that complies with federal law. And Legal Director, feel free to chime in as well.
Sure. Getting back to some of the cities and counties across the country that E&Y has serviced, that would be Ventura County, California, the state of New Jersey, state of Illinois, city of Baltimore, and those are just a few, as I stated, and their press information where there's in the city of San Jose, where there's over 150 municipalities, they help in some way.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford.
So I get that they've helped those people. What are they doing? I want to know examples of cities where they're going to be doing hands-on the way they're going to be doing it in Pontiac, because helping in some capacity is one thing, running our program and doing the checks and balances is another. So I need an example of a city, preferably in Michigan, that they have worked with, that they're going to be doing hands-on work like they're supposed to be doing here if we agree to this arrangement. Could you give me that?
Well, I think it's really going to boil down to what the grants and philanthropy department needs. So they're able to assist in any way as far as ARPA is concerned, whether it's with the actual quarterly reporting that's due. We have a report that's due at the end of this month, whether you have to track the spending. And so I would see if Lisa Campbell, Grants and Philanthropy Department, could give you more about what does she need in that department to make sure that the money is being spent. My overall goal is to make sure there is that assistance to help the Grants and Philanthropy Department, the city overall, to spend the money and obligate it by December 31st.
Ms. Campbell.
Director Campbell.
Good evening, Council, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, and citizens of Pontiac. So just in my brief assessment in my role.
Thank you.
So full disclosure, she's like 5 minutes into the gig, so we want to give you some grace there, but please.
Thank you. As Attorney Gurley mentioned, we do have a quarterly report due next week. And I've spent quite a bit of my time just kind of assessing the previous reports to understand what the reporting requires of us, getting up to speed on spending of the ARPA funds. So I think initially I'd like to engage EY to help me with that process of getting up to speed. The mayor mentioned our team member who has been managing this to date has worked very hard to keep the city in compliance. But again, this does require special expertise. And I do bring some of that to the table, but I do absolutely understand and need the value of additional expertise for those checks and balances for this. So I'd like to see how we get through this next quarterly report together, and then I can better assess how much I will engage EY on a monthly basis after that.
Just a follow, because if you recall, I asked you, did you know how to manage ARPA dollars, and you stated that you did.
I do.
Which is why I'm hesitant, because I'm not understanding, if you know how to manage it, then why are we going to pay them $25,000 a month?
Well, because so in addition to what the mayor has stated and what the EY representative has stated, that most municipalities do engage a third party, that's just best practice to do so. So again, I plan to leverage my expertise to oversee this and engage EY as necessary. It's not, I would say, probably not best practice to just have this amount of money overseen by department employees is my recommendation. So while I don't anticipate needing full hands-on assistance by EY, I do think their involvement is valuable to ensuring that we're compliant with these dollars.
Deputy Mayor Stevens.
Thank you, Council President. Councilwoman Rutherford, I would add to that, as the director has said, she is very capable of doing this. The issue, however, I would state is one of bandwidth. So I can tell you just the update that I provided to council was over 6 hours in the making. And that's just how much time I spent on it. That doesn't even include the 3 hours of other staff who had to work on it. So if we are talking about doing this, the idea is all of that time that department heads and others are working on this type of activity, we are not working on bringing in other grants. We are not working on getting the money out the door. We are not working on servicing other things. So to the extent that we can have someone who does this on a consistent, regular basis with over 100 different companies, not to say that it is cookie cutter to them, but to say that the more repetition you do something, the faster and easier you can do it, it frees up our time to provide other services to the city.
Okay. I want to say that I am receptive. Obviously, Ernst & Young is a professional firm with a proven track record, so that doesn't give me pause. What gives me a great sense of frustration is the time in which it's being brought on board. It is nuts to me that it is August in a few days. So I have full faith and confidence that professionals can now roll up their sleeves, and it could be done, and it could be obligated by deadlines and then spent by deadlines, and that's what's really crucial, and done in a way that really helps the citizens of Pontiac and really strengthens our community. But the previous plan for the administration, the previous approach was in-house. The Grants and Philanthropy Director, Director Born-Gesser, departed and announced her departure in January and left days after that. And here we are. You can count the months like I can. It gives me a lot of heartburn. I'm the one that said that I would vomit on the spot if we sent money back. Obviously, that's a figure of speech, but if you want to force me to that, so be it. This is just really serious, and so we appreciate that you're coming with a new strategy and a new approach. The frustration is that it's just crunch time. And so what I would ask is that if the council approves this, when you provide the monthly updates approximately about the progress on how much is obligated, how much is spent, how much is then, sort of programmed, that it's also clocking in for the council and the community to know how much has the E&Y, the Ernst & Young sort of billable hours clocked in at. Did it hit the 25 cap? Did it come in at 12? So that way we could just progress, because these are utilizing ARPA funds. It's utilizing ARPA funds, which is permitted to administer the ARPA spending, which is understandable, and I'm grateful that the federal program provides for that. I just need to make sure, the city needs to make sure, the council needs to make sure that we are fully aware and we're moving eyes wide open. Councilman Rutherford.
And I think my hesitation and my reservation, I concur with you, but also is we just paid somebody 6 figures to do this. And that's why I ask those type of questions, because I don't like that we have so many consultants. We have so many different consultants, and then the next month we bring in a director, and so we're just spending money that it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm hesitant to vote yes for it. I do want this money spent, absolutely, but it's, the way that you guys do it, the way that you guys kick the can down the road, and you keep kicking the can down the road, and once again, you're kicking the can down the road. So it's not about me believing in what they can do. It's about the progress and the non-progress that we've had with this administration dealing with ARPA funds. And that's why I'm grilling about what's going to be the limitation. Do we have a cutoff in the contract that says that after so much, after $25,000, after 3 months, the contract is over? Because what I don't want to happen is that we spend $1 million, like somebody stated earlier, that Flint spent $1 million on planning, and there's no execution. And that's what my hesitation is. So I just want to make sure we have something in line that says this is a 6-month contract, this is a 3-month contract. I don't want it to prolong, because 25,000 times 10, it's $250,000. So I'm just trying to figure out, did you put that in there so that we have a cutoff to protect ourselves, and so that we can limit how much money we're taking from the ARPA dollars, which are going to take from other projects to get this done. So I yield this to the attorney.
Absolutely. And we're very conscious about how much money is going to be spent. That's why it is a not to exceed amount of $25,000 monthly. But again, it is only as the Grants and Philanthropy Department uses E&Y.
Okay.
They don't charge us for a retainer or any of that. So it is going to be a finite contract, that is
Okay.
for sure.
Thank you.
And what's worth pointing out is that by the end of this year, we have to obligate. Then we got to spend that funding, and it's got to be reported consistently to the federal government how you're progressing. Are you compliant? So we want to make sure we've got the resources and the appropriate channels to report. That's the compliance element. You're complying as you go, and you're complying with what you're reporting back to the federal government. Councilwoman James.
Yes, I want to echo your concerns, President McGinnis, in regards to specifically the reporting back to the City Council, because I support the effort. We need the help, and we need the help desperately. We appreciate having a new grants and philanthropy director, and we know that she has to have time to get up to speed. So I fully support this. However, I know we have a report due. When is that report due? This one that you're talking about? And what I'd like to know is how often do you plan to report back to council? Because council really needs, I would say, at least once a month, and a status of where we are as far as these ARPA dollars. And, where are we in terms of, what dollars are invested and what dollars still need to be obligated. So, in terms of the paperwork.
Mayor Gremmel.
Yeah, as I indicated a couple of weeks ago, our next report will be mid-August, and we do agree that we should be reporting roughly every month to City Council.
Okay.
We'll make that roughly a lot less rough.
Okay. So that's every month.
Yes. It wouldn't be applicable to the Ernst & Young, but we can take that up as a council action.
Yeah, can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right. Further discussion on this motion, though. This is authorizing and approving the contract with Ernst & Young for ARPA compliance team professional services with a not-to-exceed monthly amount of $25,000 hourly as needed and as authorized by the city staff. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
All right, I'm going to try and move us along swiftly on
Counsel.
some of the remaining items. You're welcome. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us remotely from our nation's capital, where everything's smooth and sunny. All right, so we're at number 7 on the agenda. This is just authorizing the clerk to post notice of a budget amendment. If council will indulge, we know we're going to talk about it later on number 9, but this is really just voting to say, will we authorize the posting of the budget amendment notice, and it'll be back here in 2 weeks. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Parker. Is any further discussion or clarification needed? The funding is $30,000. This is new money in, so we have to consider changing the budget to reflect the new money in, and then how it would be appropriated and spent out. Hearing no discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle on the resolution authorizing the posting of the public notice, and it'll be back before council in 2 weeks.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and in 2 weeks we'll begin considering that budget amendment. We're at number 8 here. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to consider restructuring of current city employee defined contribution plans?
Moved by Carrington.
Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilwoman Rutherford. We give the floor now to the Mayor and Human Resources. The intention is not to vote on this tonight. This is about us getting an initial understanding of what the administration's request proposes to be, and further deliberation and consideration by the council at subcommittee and at future readings. Mayor Greimel.
Yeah, so this is really about both simplifying our retirement options for our employees. As I think everyone knows, once upon a time, the city had a defined benefit or traditional pension plan. That has not been the case now in 13 plus years. And so the city now has defined contribution plans, commonly known as a 401k style type plan. The city has had a lot of those historically. This will both simplify the number, but also provide greater flexibility to employees in terms of how they want to adjust their contribution and, by extension, the match from the city to those plans. And I'll turn it over to our Human Resources Director, Melinda Durakovic, to get into more details.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me today. As Mayor Grimel said, that we've had some plans that now that we've taken a look at with the help of Kevin, who is here with me from Titan Wealth Advisors, and we are going to add some new things for our employees when it comes to retirement plans. When I first started, I heard a lot of talk about one of our plans where they were unable to change their contribution. So once they start, whatever they contribute when they sign, they are unable to change that. And that was unfortunate. So with us hiring on Titan Wealth and the approval from City Council back in January of 2024, they were able to take a look of all of our plans, and then we have decided to consolidate. And that way we are adding new things, such as being able to change our contribution at any time the employee would like to. There's also, we're adding a Roth investment option to the plan, and also putting in a 30-day waiting period for our new employees starting 9/13 of 2024. I do have Kevin here with me, who will be going over in depth about the plan and what we are going to be offering to our employees moving forward.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor. In the interest of time, I can rip through these slides fairly quickly.
Rip away.
You got it. And as Melinda has pointed out, Titan was brought on in January to evaluate the existing programs. That has been done. We took a look at not only compliance with IRS regs, but internal compliance as well, and have made several recommendations for improvements. I think the big piece of our findings, as the mayor pointed out, is there are multiple vendors in place, which makes for a really inefficient process. Ultimately, the objective was to consolidate that down to one of the 4 vendors that were being utilized. In addition to the 4 vendors, there were 5 different plans in place, 5 different plan documents in place, and of which 3 were 457B plans, which is just like the 401k style that Mayor mentioned, as well as there was the 401A plans. There were 2 of those. And that is the type of plan that receives the employer contribution from the city. Our recommendation was to consolidate after much discussion with Deputy Mayor and the HR team. We all unanimously agreed that it made the most sense to utilize nationwide going forward. The benefits of consolidation, and again, Melinda has outlined those, but certainly operational efficiencies internally, just within the HR department. I think the rest of these are really driven towards improving the experience for the employee, which is a lower overall cost structure to the investment options and the plans themselves, purchasing power through gathering multiple plan assets and utilizing that to leverage greater pricing and greater options that are available. I think a big one is the improved communication to the employees so they have a better understanding of what the benefit is that the city is offering them. And then one of the things we learned through due diligence was there was a significant amount of confusion at the individual employee level, at the participant level, just about what benefits they had and, importantly, how each of the plans operated. And depending upon the vendor that was being utilized, it may have been different. So consolidation will eliminate that. Melinda has also mentioned some other benefits to the participants. One is now there will be a process to enroll employees into both plans. There will be two plans, a 457 and a 401A, but there will be one single enrollment that will take them into both plans. They can now, and this was a big sticking point, individually, I don't think a lot of the participants realize that there are some IRS rules that prevented them from making changes once they made an election. We've changed the structure of the plan so that now whatever the employee elects to contribute, they can change on whatever payroll frequency they like. So they're just operationally much easier. For those not familiar with the Roth provision, that gives certainly the younger employees, but all employees, the opportunity to defer taxes on a permanent basis for any earnings that they accumulate in the 457 plan. There is a loan provision that is in place, and that will remain in place for those that wishing to borrow their own funds for purposes that those individuals determine. I think a big important piece is that we've also added, as part of our role as the investment advisor and consultant, is that we will be providing consultations one-on-one to each employee, both initially as well as on an ongoing basis. Continuing, our timeline target for this is assuming approval through City Council. Participant packages will be mailed to their homes by Nationwide on August 6th. We will be holding meetings in this very room on 8/7. Individual meetings will follow over the next 4 days. Election forms will be due in by the 23rd, and we'll be consolidating throughout the month of September. There's a fairly extensive process to consolidate assets from other vendors into Nationwide, but that will all be explained and disclosed to the employees in those packets. Our go-live date for this new structure is 10/1, and then Titan will be back on site to meet with individual employees again post-transfer to make sure that they're comfortable with how that was executed. That's all I have for you this evening, and certainly we'll take questions.
And that timeline could be variable based upon if council takes longer to deliberate and make a decision? Or are there some hard and fast deadlines that we should be cognizant of?
Yes, there are. Would you like me to get into that?
Depending on how into that you need to be. But
Yeah.
so is the, there are certain timelines in which there's a sunsetting or a hard stop? Or
Yeah, first and foremost, everything can be moved back.
Okay.
It does require a rather yeoman effort to move it. Not the front end piece, the back end piece of moving assets has to be agreed upon by the other vendors that are outside of our control.
Okay,
And so
would that be Meadowbrook, or what are the names of those firms?
there are 4 vendors, Nationwide being the surviving vendor. The 3 others are Empower, Mission Square, and MERS.
Okay. All right. Any questions with this initial reading? We want to deliberate further on this matter. We welcome community input, resident input, City Hall feedback. But the takeaway is that the prior structure of having multiple streams or multiple options created a patchwork that isn't working well. And more importantly, the IRS locks in employees where they cannot, for some of these pathways, they can't change as their life circumstances or their family arrangement or income changes, and that's creating a big hardship on employees, right?
That's an accurate statement, Mr. President. If I could just make a slight adjustment to the first part of that.
Sure.
So the IRS has certain rules governing all plans, but over the many years, I might even say decades, the city's 457 and 401A plans were just kind of heaped on top of one another. There was no apparent strategy for why all these different vendors were being offered. That was not uncommon in municipalities. And so we've helped many municipalities consolidate down to one, which is obviously a much more efficient, more cost-effective strategy.
Thank you for that. Any final discussion on this first reading? If I hear nothing further, is there a motion to postpone for 1 week? Support. It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford. I don't know why I said that. Councilwoman Rutherford. Duticlay. And seconded by Councilman Parker to postpone this resolution for 1 week. Any further discussion on the motion to postpone? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle on postponement of this resolution for 1 week.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. It's postponed for 1 week. It'll be back next week. Thank you for your time. We're at number 9 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Moved by Carrington.
Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilwoman Rutherford. This is a resolution to approve acceptance of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation grant funding of $30,000 to assist with the master plan update process costs. It's been moved and seconded. Now before us, Planning Manager Yandrick. You want to give us a scoop?
As a redevelopment-ready community, we are eligible for funds to assist with technical assistance with the master plan. That technical assistance would be the contract with McKenna. So the city has been awarded this grant for $30,000. This resolution allows the mayor to sign the contract to accept these funds, and this aligns with the budget arrangement earlier. The one thing about this $30,000 that is very key is it helps us go farther with this master plan, and it helps us do more public engagement than we would normally be able to do under our budget. So if there's any questions, the rest is in your packet. Thank you.
We're pleased about this new resources to defray the cost to the citizens and the taxpayers about this needed action. Any discussion on the resolution before us? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution approving the acceptance of the MEDC grant funding of $30,000 to assist with the master plan.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We are at public comment. Pro Tem Carrington, who's up?
Ms. Renee Beckley. And Robert Bass will be next.
The words that I describe my feelings.
I don't want to ruin your flow, but the microphone got turned off. I haven't started your clock yet. It's at the black base on the right. Yep, and everyone can just leave the microphone on. I apologize.
The words to describe my feelings as of Saturday, July the 20th, you can say incensed and livid. In simple terms, just plain mad. I'm speaking of Saturday afternoon incident. I was at the Elon block party, and I was walking to my car. Congressman Haley Stevens was coming down the sidewalk. I had just started my conversation with the Congresswoman. With her, I told her about our lack of the garbage pickup. All of a sudden, Councilwoman Melanie Rutherford comes into the conversation. Well, there's the garbage that get picked up there. They start talking to Congresswoman Stevens, and then after a few minutes, pull her away. And I guess other people came behind us and stuff. Then she pulls her away again out of earshot. I mean, just interrupt our conversation. Now, that was rude, very rude. And I think she does this before with other people, but I just have to point her out. I'm sorry, you don't do that. Anyways, and I had to leave, and I had standing there waiting on the sidewalk because I was leaving to go home. And so she came back after several minutes after Melanie. I have no idea what they were talking about. I could be the constituent trying to give her some money. I'm a precinct delegate. I could want to volunteer for a campaign. Unfortunately, I'm in the big one now. So, I can't help her. That's rude, Melanie. You got to learn manners.
Please direct your comments to the chair.
Right, okay. What, this way?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, but that made me hot. I didn't want to clown in public, though. But I just like, what? She just walked in my conversation, and talking, and I'm trying to tell her something. Also was telling her something internal within the Democratic Party, because I'm part of that too. I'm a delegate and I go to the meetings. But to interrupt somebody, you sitting on council, you do not have manners. And I'm going to teach you some manners right here at this mic. When somebody's talking, if you got to tell her something, excuse me, can I talk to you after you done speaking with her? If it's emergency or something like, oh, you dropped your keys or somebody's trying to break in your car, fine, I'm gonna have no problem with that. But just to walk in and pull somebody away and other people are waiting also, you're rude, Melanie. I just have to say, I don't like to get in a fray with you because we have a history of being in an incident right here at this council chamber. But you don't do that. You let the person finish speaking and then you talk to her. I mean, that's not right. I mean, I've just thought about this all weekend. I'm busy. You know, I got a lot to do. So next time she's up for election next year, 2025, this is one vote her out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beckley. Mr. Robert Bass. And Ms. Rosalind Norcross is next.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bass, Assistant District Counsel. I'm going to be quick because I didn't intend to talk this evening, but I need to clarify something. First, I'm going to say with the sanitation, all we're looking for is equal treatment. I have a lot of residents in District 1, and when they get cited and the businesses don't get cited or getting cited and it's not come to fruition yet, then that becomes a problem because they have less means of paying those fines than these corporates do. Now, secondly, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to ask a question regarding the master plan. I've sat on a number of ad hoc committees, even the just a lot of those ad hoc committees, and I've never known them to be closed to the public. And that bothered me when I went to Facebook on the CDC page and saw all those people that were making comments about they were locked out. And there was only a few of us residents that were sitting in this room. So all of these meetings should be allowable for residents to come and sit in if they don't do nothing else. If you don't allow them to speak, they should be able to come in and watch what's going on, especially with something this important. And you're going to ask for their input. The more information they have when you come to them, the better it is. So that's all I'm asking. Why are they being locked out of various meetings? Whether it be a planning meeting or whether it be an advisory committee. They should be allowed to listen if they don't do nothing else. But what I really came for this evening was I sent out an email regarding the gas station that's possibly coming back up right around the 30th. That email was expressing a meeting that I took. I don't take meetings after we have a problem with a developer or anybody like that. I will not take a meeting with them by myself. So this meeting took place after they were voted down for having a gas station on South Boulevard in Franklin. Okay, so I took the meeting to make sure that nobody could say, well, the residents didn't want to talk to me. But I took my vice president, and it was a three-person conversation. So as I relate things to my residents or the people that I'm collaborative with, I make sure that I keep the word for word of what was said so that they can't come back on me and say, well, you didn't tell us the whole truth. You didn't tell us all the stuff that was in it. So it was a three-people conversation. Our council person came up in that conversation, but it was between the store owner, myself, and the vice president. He made a statement. I directed that statement that he made.
That does conclude your time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
But I just wanted to say I apologize if anybody misread that information. Thank you.
Ms. Rosalind Northcross.
I just have a concern about when information is shared here at the
city council meetings. The information is very valuable, and I have learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone else here is learning a lot. But it isn't always accessible if you just share that information verbally. For example, tonight, when you gave the information about how to contact Prestige, their email, their phone number, their website, etc., it was all verbal. There is a screen. And just as from a citizen's point of view, it would really be helpful to us that when you share information that you really want us to follow up on, that you make it visual as well as verbal, because that would really help us to be able to make sure we got the phone number right, double check, whatever. So if you guys could consider doing that when you share information with the public at these meetings, it would be very, very helpful. Also, the summer is still going on, and I live on the south side. In earshot of M1, they have lots of events that are coming up. And we just don't want you to forget that we are there, and that we hope that code enforcement will continue to enforce the noise ordinance of the city of Pontiac. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norcross. Mr. Hubert Maxey.
Good evening to Mr. and Mrs. Pontiac, citizens at large, and governance. I'm speaking to 6 and 8. And looking at the exhibition, I call it tonight, the plan, do you realize that the goals and objectives, everything that was on the wall tonight, that came from SimCog. That came from SimCog. I am a researcher and a sociologist, and served in management, planning, and analysis. We'll include the people and ask to get your input. Include what? Why do you think the 12 of us come up here approximately every Tuesday? We're telling you what we need. We're telling you what we need, our objectives, our motives, and we get in the street and talk to people. So what's new about that? What's new about all this tonight, about this company coming in and giving us direction? Mr. Mayor, it's supposed to be design thinking, not strategic planning. Pontiac is a city unique. We're a unique city. So everything that you had on the board tonight, I'll invite who? Who are you going to invite? Automatically, the 12 of us have been coming up here for days, for weeks, for months, for years, telling you exactly what citizens need from their mouth. No, I don't get it. I served with United Way over 15 years ago, and I won't call the man's name, and my job was head of finance, more or less, planning and finance. And United Way, we listened to the citizens, and we funded everything they need. The citizen had equity. What type of equity are you going to talk about the same thing over and over? Over and over. I guess I'll have time to go to number 9. Yes, accept the money. And getting back to 6, $25,000. I understand about hours, about what? Again, that information came from SimCog, Mr. Mayor. Came from SimCog, nothing new. And as we talk to our citizens, we'll discuss over and over, by weeks, by month, and by the year, at night. I guess when everybody else is asleep. Citizens don't sit back and wait and yell and scream and holler. They know. Everything you had on that board, we know. What is your objective? Is it parity? Equity? Equity for our citizens. Equity. And council, I don't know. I guess you know what's happening with all these consultants. Just watch the 12.
That does conclude your time.
Well, thank you for the time, but it's nothing new.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, I'm Billy Swayzer. Last Tuesday after the council meeting, I went home. I lived down the street from Councilwoman James. And Wednesday was our garbage day. I looked around and seen who had garbage out. But I go to breakfast at 7, 8 I come home. The garbage man had already did Meadow Ridge, which is a street I come in off of Walton. And it was one garbage truck. He was picking up both sides of the street. Then they did my street, which is Marchbanks. And they did, it was 2 people in the truck, one a driver and one on the passenger side or walker. And they did both sides of the street. If you had a garbage can out, they got on that side, they got on that side. Both garbage cans were put up, and then the walker, he walked to the next stop, and then they did the same thing. So later on, I left and then went around my neighborhood to see who they had picked up all the garbage. They had picked up all the yard waste. I think maybe all the regular recycling wasn't picked up, but that's not my problem because I don't do that. So I want to thank y'all for getting those people on the job and getting that picked up. The other thing I want to talk to people is voting. We're in the midst of an election now, and we're having voting on August 6th. We have early election absentee voting right now. If you haven't received your ballot, go contact the city clerk's office and get your ballot and vote right now for for the offices that they have and for the charter so that we can get this thing done. The next thing is they're having a VIVA trustee voting too. VIVA is a IRS term. VIVA stands for Voluntary Employee Benefits Association, and it's a term that they use city funds to pay for employee benefits. But they have trustees. They have the mayor. Supposed to have the accounts person, but they don't. They have supposed to have a finance director, but one of the persons running is a friend of mine, James Mariani. He used to be on different boards, but he is a retiree now. And I just want you, regardless of who you vote for, make sure you vote. The ballots will come in a red and white envelope, and it's in a prepaid envelope mailed back to the VIVA company, which is in Troy, Michigan, and then they will vote on that. Make sure you have it in by Saturday, because next week they'll be counting the ballots, and I'll be there. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Swayzer. Minister Veronica Taylor.
First, I honor God, who's the head of my life, to this honorable body in this city of Pontiac. I'm here not only as a minister, but as a citizen of this city. I live at 160 J. Hubbard Lane. I've been living there for 7 years. I've been paying my rent as doable on time and before time sometime because I be busy. I have had raccoons living with me for 3 years, and Lighthouse, Shannon them knew it and didn't care. Now, since it's getting cleaned up, I have to now try to find a way of eating every day because it's unhabitable in my home due to everything they all took out. I have asked, the Lighthouse came in. I would like to thank the mayor, my pastor, and all of them for coming in and sitting down having a meeting with me. But to have Continental Management to keep calling and talking to the residents and to be in this city disrespecting not only Lighthouse, Beacon Square, or District 5, people over there in District 5, it's unnecessary. You got to know who you have managing this city. And to be having, I had Shannon come into my house on Friday and take a look. Court enforcement have shut them down and got to shut down the rest of our district over there. And I would like to thank my councilman, Mike McGinnis for taking the calls and seeing the pictures, as well as the mayor and my pastor. What I need y'all to do is clean up these people that's coming in here managing these companies. We're coming in here managing these homes and mistreating us as citizens, and we paying. And having a management company like Continental Management to talk to us like we are not human and disrespect us and don't do that, we need to stop it. We need to let you all know. We need you all to stand with us. When we're diligently paying our rent and our bills on time, even if we don't, we should be able to be taken care of and respected. And they've been told to me that Shanna has the right to remove these people, then they need to be removed out the city of Pontiac. She sat in my home and didn't want to look and had to go to the ladies' room, and she said, I can't use yours. Let me go out. I got to find another place. But I have to live in that every day. That's so disrespecting to have somebody managing Lighthouse, managing a company, and they can't even use the restroom where they're sending the management company into. And I am furious. And before anybody up there ever again be reelected, y'all better help me get rid of Continental Management.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Mr. Reynolds?
Sorry, if you would call who the next person is, we can skedaddle up here a lot faster because we don't know who's on the list. So if you do that to help us get here faster. And the other thing, as a point of privilege, could we maybe institute taking a bathroom break at approximately 8:30 so that the president of the council doesn't have to excuse himself to bring back 2 delicious beverages while the audience sits here and wonders if they can use the bathroom? That's just a point of privilege. Possible? No, I guess not. I guess that's part of my time. Okay, the other thing that I'd like to talk about tonight is the capacity of this room. What is the capacity of this room? I don't know. I don't see where it's posted. It's 140. Are there 140 chairs here? Because we are not having a place to sit to have the meetings. People come and they're discouraged and they leave. People leave because the meetings are so long. People leave because public comment is so long. The meetings are run very, very poorly. Speaking of run poorly, the clerk's office this morning, I arrived at 9 o'clock, not 9 o'clock, let's say 9:45, to get a copy of the agenda. I was delighted to enter to the smell of chicken and waffles. I was delighted to enter to the smell of hot coffee. I was delighted to see our poll workers, our paid poll workers, not volunteers, not somebody like me who works for $1,700 for the period. And it's $1,700 that is being given away to Oakland University students. That's gentrification, rather than to the Pontiac seniors and people who need the money here in the city. The 17 is an important number to me for a lot of reasons. But I entered to chicken and waffles being eaten and ballots being strewn all over the table, ready to be spilled on at any moment. I did talk to Mr. Wright about it, Garland, I'm Mr. Doyle about it, and he had a good chuckle when I told him about the council person who actually I had to have removed from the poll place. And that would be Miss Melanie Rutherford. She leaves the room when I speak. I can't do anything about that. I'd like to talk about the myth of council leadership. There is no phrase I can find in anything that says refer to the council leadership. The council leadership is the council. You elect a president. That president then can become president or mayor should something happen to Tim Grimel. That's how a felon becomes mayor of Pontiac. This is orchestrated just as national politics, all politics are local. This is the same thing that we have going on right now. We wanted to talk about black girl magic. We have in Pontiac, black girl tragic. And I think, I have 36 more seconds. I'd like to talk about Phoenix rising out of the ashes. How many nonprofits in this city have administratively closed themselves and arisen with a new name in 3 years? How many? Do you want a list? We have the Ramsey rule now where we can owe the city a lot of money, and we have 124 Franklin. We have 124 Franklin, owned by the city president at one time, and he made the Ramsey rule where you don't have to pay back the money you owe the city. So those are just my little random thoughts, and I have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good night. Go ahead, Brad.
Thank you. Ms. Denise Harris, she's gone. Mr. Carlton Jones.
Yeah, I love that our citizens are really getting engaged in their own kind of way, to be truthful. And hopefully that you all, the council, are paying attention. Appreciate the work that CDC is doing to reach out across the board. Mr. Bass leading the CDC is doing an excellent job to try to make sure every district has some citizen district council participation in our city. I'm very concerned, though, that are these comments that citizens come to the table, how do you find a way to address them? I think you think that sometimes it just come up and let them talk. It's not, where is it that it's being responded to we as citizens are sharing things with the city council? With the council, you guys are our really fiduciary responsibility for the city. The mayor and his administration can present anything, but if it's over $10,000 and you approve it, then you on the line. So I think we just got to work closer together and listen truly to what we as the citizens are producing and what we're saying. And let me just say this, because last week's presentation about the ARPA money really exposed a whole lot as far as where our real priorities are at. I looked at the information real closely. Back in November 2022, it was saying the top two things was the replenish the city for the $10 million. I know, Mayor, we know that that was all acceptable. I had no problems with that. The second thing was $7 million for economic development. Now you ask, how much have been spent on economic development that can really help the city? How much has really been spent on that? Let's check and see. Now I seen in that same report, we set aside $500,000 for workforce development. First time I seen any funds for workforce development. It should have been top priority because it was a high priority in the budget. But there has not been any movement in that direction to uplift us. Now, y'all hear me talk about this over and over. If you think it's going through deaf ears, your ears is deaf. The community is telling me they know we need it. Now, I commend you, President. You're right. We got to quit kicking the can down the road because that's what's happening. I think that piece that the new grants director for that 25 or some assistance, she needs that. Anybody coming in a position, I've came in new positions. You need almost somebody to kind of help you with the back door as you trying to open up the front door. Her main job is to try to get more grants and stuff here. But if she's spending all her time on past stuff, she needs some assistance. So I don't have any problem, but we should have done that a long time ago. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. We need to have done that a long time ago. Let me just say once again, this is just 3 minutes we have to wait for. If we don't do something about workforce development and you keep on thinking that we're going to change, we're not going to change in the city. Because the biggest thing is our low income levels, and that's the part that really put the engine into economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
I'll start with the master plan. Someone else mentioned that and had the same complaint about. And this has been a difference between this administration, the way we had done the master plan, and some of the other community engagement projects before. When we did the master plan before, it was open to anyone who wanted to participate, and we had a large contingent of people who did that. Now, I guess it's a hand-picked panel by the mayor, but I guess I don't know why one person is better than another person to be on this, and it can't be open like we did before. And also, are you ever going to tell us who they are, or is it secret? Okay, so that's the thing. We also did a number of other projects in which we had a lot of stakeholders, and when we talk about community engagement, that's the way we did it before, and it had a lot of involvement, and I think it's being done a different way now, so for whatever purpose. But getting back to ARPA, because that is coming up on the agenda for you. There is something that you can do, Council, for the people who are not going to be getting the small business funds. The program, which was supposed to have started back in December, people made applications. It stopped and started, stopped and started. Nobody's gotten any benefit from that yet. Okay. And so that is being questionable how that's being run. But in addition to the fact there's so few homeowners who are going to get the benefit that so many should be eligible for. We hear people talking about they need their sidewalks fixed. They need their garages fixed. And there's no reason why more of those people shouldn't receive the funding because they were eligible, there was enough money to get, and if you keep just giving the money away to other people, 46 consultants, I've counted over the time this administration has been in, just money going out rather than giving it to and making sure this COVID relief money goes to the citizens, the homeowners, the small businesses. That should be your first concern. So I'm going to keep advocating for that. I think if I were someone who couldn't even make an application and saw someone else on my street getting a project, and not many that had been done yet, I guess only 20 have been done, and so we need to speed that up. I have some information on how that can be speeded up. We can get the city out of being the middleman, for one thing. Most of the COVID money was given to the grantee rather than having the city go through this month-long process. Some people say they have been accepted and haven't heard anything for a year. So that's just the incompetence of the way that's run. And I think, Council, I think you need to consider whether you want to be complicit in people not getting this benefit that we had planned for them, or whether you want to do something. And you can, because Council appropriates. The mayor's office administrates. So you can change the budget anytime you want, although it's already been changed by administration, so you can change it too.
Thank you. Is Pastor Kathy Desero? And is it Shanita Williams is next?
Well, this wasn't what I planned to talk on, but I used to work for Ernst & Young, and I was hired for a project that is very similar to what you just hired them to do, only we had $60 million and 9 countries we were dealing with. I can tell you firsthand, they are the bomb. These people know what they are doing. I dare say there probably aren't 3 people in the whole city of Pontiac with the experience on their hands that Ernst & Young has. They know what they are. They were part of the big 3. The big 3 not being automotive, but the big 3 financial planners. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for those people. And I worked for them. You don't always have a lot of respect for the people you work for because you know things about them you wish you didn't know. That wasn't the case. These people are smart, and they don't put their hands to things they don't know how to do. We have unique situations here, and they have hired the best, and you ought to be grateful that they have. Now, what I did plan to talk about was a thank you. Those of you who have called and written and sent cards and wanted to know how I was doing. 4 months ago, I fell in my kitchen, broke the femur in both legs. One leg they caught finally a month later. The other one they've just discovered, and now they're going to have to re-break it and do it over again. But you people have been great. I'm an outsider. I've been here a long time now, but I'm still an outsider. And the love and the caring has been wonderful, and I have appreciated it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Desero. Shanita Williams, here. Mr. Marcus Bowman, and then Darlene Clark on deck, and then Gloria Miller.
Good evening, good evening. It's been a long one, long one. I'm here on behalf of the Summer Hangout 2024 over at 124 West Columbia, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. We're running the Summer Hangout for the kids, and we're trying to get some more resources, some more help. Anybody that can possibly be advocates to speak for it, or anybody who can actually bring some more resources and support to the table. I want to thank some of the people who have been instrumental in helping keep things rolling and get things going, because this is a private as well as a venture with Craft Tea. So we have Craft Tea as one of the nonprofit entities, and we have the Syndicate Consultant as a sponsor. But I also want to thank Melanie Rutherford, William Carrington, and as well as a few other people in the community that's been instrumental in just trying to help steer this thing through and get us to where we can make something beautiful and special for these children. And we want to be more enriching, so we're trying to bring some extra activities. So anybody who can support with, art supplies, water, any type of food support, we can go for that. Anybody who want to volunteer their services and their time to help assist with the children. I got the sign-in sheets, and it's been rapid. We've grown in a matter of 7 days to 10 days. We went from 13 kids to about 60 kids. So it is making an impact, and it is showing that we can do something impactful for our children. And I just want anybody who cares and really, excuse my language, give a damn about these kids in this community, because whether the city of Pontiac, and no offense to what the city is doing, because I know that the youth enrichment program is going to be beautiful once it come to light, but this can be a pilot program, as well as this could be something to stand in the gap until the city comes with our new state-of-the-art youth rec center. So I just really want people to just, sit back and take a look and, take politics or take any type of personal issues out of this when it comes to these children, because, again, I'm not speaking up here to waste my time, but I'm speaking up here because I got skin in the game. And when it comes to these children, there's no politics or no bureaucracy involved with it. So I'm glad for those who have decided to help and who have decided to put their differences aside to join in what we're doing. I also want to announce on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken, there will be a fundraiser to try to bring more money to this event, as well as to try to help raise money to get the swimming pool so we can have another community swimming pool for people to use, because in our black communities and in our urban communities, our children do not know how to swim, and that's very important. So I am sending out a message to any contenders. William Carrington, you the first one. We're doing the around the world. And Tim Grimal, you are the other candidate that if you win, I got to buy the kids ice cream. So hopefully we can make this event big, and hopefully you guys can come out and help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
248-843-3172.
Is it Mr. Luke Holsworth? Oh, you next, Miss Clark. Mm-hmm.
Once again, good afternoon. First, let's talk about priority. I'm going to take 1 minute, not even a whole minute, to talk about priority. For the people that's listening to me, understand what the scheduling that we had with GFL is no longer existing. I don't know if the mayor has mentioned this, or maybe you guys are not getting a memo, or however you do this, and the council is not being upfront, or the contract that was designed is not even being stressed to say what I'm finna say. The contract with the priority says there's no designated time for your trash pickup. So if you're used to getting your trash pickup on Friday at 7 a.m., you have to put it out on Friday, and whatever they get to it, they get to it. According to actually the owner who helped designate the contract with the city, he stated that in the contract. So please, residents, do not wait for your trash to be picked up the same way that GF did, at a timely manner. Now, this is what I really want to address. The council wants you guys to believe that we citizens are just naive or dumb. We're not. You can look in your yards, you can look on your streets, you can look in your backyard, you can look anywhere all over the city of Pontiac. You have weeds to grow on the trees. Now, I met a young man named Sean Stockman. You can go to his website, it's called Midlife Stockman, MIDLIFESTOCK, on YouTube, and look what he's been doing.
He's actually been coming around the city of Pontiac, and he's been actually maintaining a lot of the trees off the sidewalks and doing so much more that you think the city is getting the credit for. The city is not doing this. A problem that I see is that it's not only just the real estate investors who own 30 and 40 pieces of property who's causing these problems. It's just not the investors or the property owners or the landlords that's creating these problems. They're not the ones who are creating the problem. The problem is in our own house. It's the city of Pontiac and Oakland County. When we look at the majority of the property that was not being maintained, it's not what we think. Oakland County. Do the city ticket Oakland County for not cutting the grass, for not cutting the weeds? Is the city themselves not doing their job? Because I could name over 10 or 15 property lots that the city owns that has not been maintained. So with that being said, everyone is saying to us, if the city cannot handle their business, then hell, I don't have to handle mines. But if you keep giving fines, your code enforcement to the residents, you're only pleasing the business people. You're only pleasing Tim Grimer, who does not want to take the time and fire Jack McIntyre.
Ms. Gloria Miller. Thank you, Ms. Clark.
I want to hurry up. I just got a word that it's storming outside. It's really bad outside, so I want to hurry up and get out of here. It's doing real bad after the weather. I want to first start off with talking about the master plan again. Like I said, the master plan is a plan, but the plan is not included in the plan. I understand that maybe you know someone and their reputation is good, but it's no good if we don't know about them and we don't think they know good. We don't know anything about them. If you bring this stuff to us, we would know about it. There's too much done in the dark. And, oh, yeah, I want to address this. I watched the meeting last week, and they said the same people keep coming. Well, what you don't understand is, did you ever think that maybe people sending us and you don't see them? You'll see them at election time. That's when you're going to see them. These people don't come out. I had some people say, I couldn't do what you do, Gloria, because I would have kicked some butt by now. I said, I do it. And I'm not approachable. So I would suggest, like I said, God's still working on me. I ain't going to take no hit. I'm going to hit you back. I'm not there yet. And I also want to say something else. You know, if anybody watched this meeting for 28 years, I done walked this city from one end to the other. I know this whole freaking city. I know people out there that know me. I do things for people right now. I'm doing something that another council member has never done. I left that chair. I came down here for 25 years, worked in the community, worked with the governors, helped got some of them out, helped put some of the mayors out, like I want to get this one out. I did all that. I used to sit in City Hall in the chair, recall mayors, worked in the community, worked my butt off. Me and Randy Carter, cleaning Hawthorne Park. I'm a street person. I stay on the ground with the people. So I know what I did. I can brag. Because and one thing I never did, I ain't never stole a dime, never took a dime from no one, and always do it right by my people. No matter if they like me or not. Because it frankly don't matter. I'm at an age where I don't even give a damn if you like me or not. But I can tell you this, but that's why I don't have to come up. But that's one thing I found about kissing butt. No matter how you kiss butt, they still don't take care of your property. See, you stand up for something. You got to stand for something. And all I'm saying to the people in Pontiac, you're calling me, they want to get, I want to start, I don't want a CDC. I'm starting the campaign of getting rid of the administration and the people in the council. Anybody want to join me? Call me. It's time to do this. No more asking, no more begging. We got to get ourselves together and find a mayor and a council that we want that works for us. That's how I do. I organize. Million Woman March, I'm there. I'm about business. I see my people being mistaken, being misused. The city is being bought up, and a lot of them up there know about it, but they're not telling you about it. But I'm never going to do you like that, because I'm one of you.
That does conclude your time.
Time to mobilize. Let's do it.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes public comment, President McGinnis.
Thank you. Clerk Doyle, I believe that we received a written public comment in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Want to amplify that?
Thank you, Mr. President. We received a public comment from a member of the public, Charles Blackwell. He submitted a public comment criticizing Councilwoman Melanie Rutherford's conduct.
Okay. All right. With that, public comment is concluded. But I do want to share that the City Council in the consent agenda tonight adopted an update to our rules. Since this is newer for us to receive written comment, we want to open that up for others if they would like to submit a written public comment. Get it in by Thursday at the end of the day, and it will go into the council packet. So that way it's your opportunity to submit something in writing. You do not have to attend the council meeting to still have your perspective heard ahead of action from the City Council. So that is an opportunity and option for those with disabilities and those in the broader community at large. All right, we are now at discussions, but I do just want to say in public comment it was falsely implied that a property that I own or owned, taxes were not paid. That's not true. I currently own one property and the taxes are up to date, but on a property I used to own, which has been maybe 5 or 6 years ago since I sold it, I had paid the taxes during the time of my ownership. So while that property is up for tax foreclosure, it ain't me that didn't pay the taxes. All right. We are now at discussion. Number 10, this is a quick FYI to make sure that the community knows about the small business grant applications and informational meetings. So, Mayor, very briefly, do you want to amplify that?
Yeah, thank you. So very briefly, we do have 2 informational meetings coming up about small business assistance opportunities, both grants and loans, as well as technical assistance. In other words, assistance to teach entrepreneurs about opportunities to engage in marketing plans, to develop business strategic plans, how to file business taxes. So really educational opportunities for businesses in addition to grant and loan opportunities. Those are coming up this Wednesday, tomorrow, July 24th at the Bowen Center from 6 to 8 p.m. We announced this last week as well. And then on July 29th as well. That one is going to be in City Council chambers right here. Both of those, again, 6 to 8 p.m. Bowen Center, July 24th, and City Council chambers, July 29th, 6 to 8 p.m.
Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, we're at the next discussion item. ARPA has different buckets, and since earlier this year, the mayor and administration indicated there'd be a request for proposals from community members for some of those buckets, and I've had a lot of inquiries, and I'm just curious if that application is live yet. So if you have an update on that, Mayor, so that we can let the community know.
I do. So that is going to be posted this week, certainly no later than Friday, possibly as early as Thursday. So if you're interested in applying for placemaking, development, arts and culture opportunities, please check out the city's website. This Friday, it'll be posted certainly no later than 5 p.m. Friday. There'll be an opportunity to apply over a course of time. It may be posted before Friday, but this is not a first come, first serve application process. So it's not like you need to race to get your application in. There'll be an application window, and the proposals would be judged on their merits. So again, no later than this Friday, that'll be going live on our website, and we look forward to receiving applications from those who are interested.
All right, I'll roll that discussion over to next week so we can confirm and just amplify it if it's live and how residents can access it. But thinking a few steps ahead, this is wise because if we get towards the end of the calendar year and funds have not been obligated, we might have a stockpile of good ideas or viable ideas from the community that we could pluck from that already created framework versus trying to scramble at the 11th hour. So I look forward to learning more about how that rolls out. Okay, hearing nothing further on that. Next discussion item, there is a new DG Market that's opened at MLK Boulevard in Perry. It's in Pro Tem Carrington's district, although very close to a few other council districts. So Pro Tem, I saw you posted a photo. It sounds like we got a new market option.
Well, definitely, I think it's been well received in the community. I've actually shopped there twice. It kind of shocked me because I didn't know what it was when I went in, and I didn't know what DG stand for, honestly, the short. So I was like, let me go see what this is. So when I went in, I actually seen a small grocery store, small market, something that's definitely needed in that corner of the city. Prices were reasonable, maybe a few cents more than, the Walmart or the Kroger's, but definitely compared to other stores in that area, those prices was very reasonable. So I see the residents very happy about going in there. It's clean, and I'm hoping that the community, it becomes a place maker right here in the community, and it has long potential to be there for a while. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on that item? Hearing none. The final discussion item, City Council District 2 vacancy process for appointment consideration. As I shared at last week's City Council meeting, the city charter for the City of Pontiac, which determines how our government is structured, the current charter that was enacted in the 1980s that's still in effect, it states that a council member can have no more than 5 consecutive unexcused absences from regular meetings. And so with tonight's meeting, this is the 5th and final of those consecutive 5 meetings that Councilperson Brett Nicholson, who represents District 2, has not been in attendance and has not had an excused absence. So with that, after we conclude this discussion, I will take a motion to suspend the rules and take up a resolution declaring the seat vacant. That's sort of like an extra step that's not really necessary, but just to make it very clear. And so that way we have a document to share with Oakland County and for the record to reflect that per the city charter, the city council acknowledges and sees that the seat is vacant. And accordingly, we'll proceed with a procedure to allow residents of that district to put their names forward to consider an appointment. Based on the city charter, the balance of the term will be filled by an appointment. And there is a state window of time, I think it's 30 days. So within 30 days, and we'll confirm that information for you, but within a month's time, the city council needs to make that decision. Otherwise, it defaults. The decision will be made by another entity of government, I think Oakland County. But there's no need for us to do that. The citizens of Pontiac and the city council working on your behalf can help fill that vacancy. The term runs through the balance of next year. So it would be, the vacancy would be upon appointment until the balance of December of 2025. So we're talking about a 1.5-year commitment. As you see, the current city charter requires meetings weekly, but there is also a commitment of subcommittee meetings. Each of us sit on 2 subcommittees, 3 subcommittees. We sit on a lot of subcommittees. Each of us chairs one as well. And then there are a lot of community meetings. We each hold a monthly community engagement meeting. That's not required, but it's a best practice. This city council has worked hard to make that consistent and increase attendance. For District 2, they have an established monthly meeting, so that is something that you may already be aware of or already attending. If you need clarification on the boundaries of District 2, the clerk's office or the council's office can assist you with verifying which council district you live in. The requirements to be eligible for appointment are that you have to be an elector, meaning eligible to vote, and living within that district, that council district. So that means you have to be a registered voter, you have to be 18 or over, and an American citizen living in the district to be eligible. So that's a primary sort of bar to clear. If you ain't cleared that bar, then just let it go. But the broad process will be that in coming days, City Council will have an application that those interested residents in District 2 can fill out. The intention is to have a hard copy and an electronic version, so you could submit it digitally as well. Council will try and review, we will review all of them, and then try and rank so that way those finalists that have some viability of being appointed and considered make it through an additional round. A subcommittee of the City Council will conduct interviews and review of applications, and then finalists will be presented to the full council for consideration before the month period of time is up. So you'll have an opportunity at multiple stages to offer your perspective too, if you'd like to advocate for or add your name in support of a neighbor who's applying for that city council vacancy. So I just want to talk about those broad structural elements. So long story short, with tonight, the council seat for District 2 will now be vacated, and that there is a approximately month-long process for appointment by city council, the remaining 6 members, to fill that vacancy. The determination on what are the qualities that are being sought by this council will be up to each individual city council member, but I think a demonstrated track record of you being involved and caring about your neighborhood and caring about your community would very much go a long way. It's the track record of appointments for other vacancies. If you can demonstrate that you've in the past rolled up your sleeves and are able to serve the community in different roles, maybe past service in boards and commissions or other roles or community leadership would definitely be well received. But all are invited and encouraged to apply if they have interest and they meet the eligibility. It's worth pointing out that this remaining members of City Council, as well as Councilman Nicholson when he's served, have a variety of different professional career backgrounds. So bringing different career backgrounds is very valuable. Having different life perspectives is very valuable. But you absolutely got to love Pontiac and got to be willing to put the time and work in to make your love of Pontiac manifest into progress and results for our city. So we will spell out more information in the days to come. But first and foremost, it's a matter of whether the seat is vacant, and with tonight's meeting, it now is vacated. So I want to now turn it over for open discussion. Since this is a discussion item, I just wanted to lay that out procedurally. But then on a note about Councilman Nicholson, I want to acknowledge and thank him for his time that he did serve on the City Council. It's a lot of time and effort is invested into it. He obviously had health issues that arose and other work obligations that would conflict with his ability to fulfill the role and the responsibility. So that's led to where we are tonight. I want to acknowledge the time that he did serve. He was the chair of the Finance and Personnel Subcommittee, and he brought a lot of professional experience from human resources, where he has had a long track record, and that's benefited the city. And he was obviously at the table for many important decisions that are determining the future of the city of Pontiac. And I just want to say on behalf of the City Council, thank you for your time and your service, and service that preceded that. He also had served on city boards and commissions, neighborhood groups, and he's a current business owner in the city, a homeowner in the city, and we acknowledge his past commitment and service to Pontiac and welcome his future commitment to his beloved city. Further discussion from City Council on this matter. Mayor Grimo.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the process for selecting a new city council person. That's not my lane. But I do just want to thank Brett for his service. I know he's had a really tough time over the course of the past almost year with health challenges. And as I've told him, certainly my thoughts and prayers continue to be with Councilman Nicholson. But he was really, really valuable during the time that he was engaged, especially as chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee. He has a deep and broad human resources background, and he just brought a lot of expertise and dedication to the table when he was healthy and really engaged with city affairs. So I'm personally really grateful to him for his service and his dedication, and wish him well as he takes time to tackle his health issues.
Further discussion. Councilman Rutherford.
I had the honor and the privilege of sitting next to Brett for almost 2.5 years. And Brett had a way of making things simple. And he would explain things that sometimes I might not understand in a way that anybody could. But most importantly, he had such a courageous heart. He's probably the realest person you've ever met. He would give you the shirt off his back, and he fought. And I want to make sure we say that openly. He fought as long as he could to be here but his body just wouldn't give him the energy that he needs. And I want to thank him for everything that he's done for me as a council person, for everything he's done for this council, for what he does for this community, for those hard fights that people don't know about, for the times when I've literally been like, oh my God, why are we here? And he'd be like, we're supposed to be here. And I will miss my friend, and I will miss my colleague. And to District 2, you had an amazing council person who fought mentally, emotionally, spiritually against ridicule, against ignorance, against sometimes bigotry, against sometimes hatred, because he was different, but he fought a good fight. And so don't ever let anybody try to diminish what he actually was able to accomplish. He was an openly gay man in this seat. That has never happened before, and that takes courage. He was an openly man who he had a bar where people from the LGBTQ community could feel welcome, and that's something different. And so we need to make sure we remember that, what he really, really meant to District 2 and what he meant to this city, because somebody somewhere, there's a little person who might be gay, straight, or in between that says, I want to be the council person. And they could say, I could look at Brett Nicholson and say, he did it, and so can I. So I want to publicly thank him for everything he did, whether you're on the right side or the wrong side. He fought a good fight. He is an amazing person, and I will always have the deepest amount of respect for him. That's all.
Thank you. Further discussion? Pro Tem Carrington.
Just a quick statement. I definitely like to thank him for his service. I think that him being a part of that Personnel and Finance Committee was definitely important, and he brought a lot to that committee. So I wish Brent much success in any of his future endeavors and good health. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? All right. With that, that concludes the discussion. Could I please have a motion to suspend the rules to take up a resolution not currently on the agenda?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilwoman James. So the rules are now suspended. We can take up an item that's not on the agenda. Could I please have a motion to adopt a resolution declaring the District 2 City Council seat vacant and needing an appointment? Yes.
We need to vote on suspending.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My hastiness. So there was a move and a second to suspend the rules. Let's do a roll call on whether we're going to suspend the rules.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford? I'm sorry. Rutherford? Yeah. Okay. Didn't hear you. Sorry. Carrington?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The rules are suspended. Could I please have a motion to adopt a resolution declaring the District 2 City Council seat vacated per the city charter? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman James. And that's the extent of the resolution. Be it hereby resolved, Pontiac City Council District 2 seat is hereby recognized as vacated per the Pontiac City Charter. That's the resolution. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Clerk Doyle, any concerns about the nature of the resolution?
No.
Okay, roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Come back to me, please.
Carrington?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yeah.
5 yeas, no nays.
Okay. So with that, as of July, that resolution passes. So as of July 23rd, 2024, the District 2 City Council seat is vacated per the city charter, and we will work to expeditiously but effectively work with the residents of District 2 to fulfill the balance of that term with an appointment. All right, we resume the regular City Council agenda. We're at Communications, Clerk's Office.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been mentioned earlier in the meeting, but the absentee ballots are available. Anyone who wishes to vote can vote in person in the clerk's office by absentee ballot. Our hours are 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Starting this Saturday, early voting will start. We have now in Michigan, we have early voting where you can actually vote like you're voting in the precinct. Our early voting site is the Pontiac Public Library, which is located at 60 Pike Street. And early voting will begin on this Saturday, July 27th, and will run through August the 4th. So the hours for early voting are 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., with the exception of Thursday. The hours on Thursday are from 12 noon until 8 p.m. So you can vote early, or you can vote by absentee ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you clarify the Oakland University poll workers situation?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. So Oakland University received a grant. So as a result of them receiving the grant, they will be paying a number of their students the wage that poll workers would be making. So in reality, it's a savings to the city of Pontiac. So therefore, based upon that, we did not need as many poll workers that we would have had to pay. So actually, it's a savings for the city of Pontiac.
Thank you for that clarification. City Council communications are listed on the agenda, but you can see that the next concert in the park from the city is Thursday, July 24th. Is Wednesday, July 24th? So if we can verify what that date is. But the next one's at Oakland Park in District. So I don't know if it's Wednesday or Thursday.
I thought it was tomorrow night, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so
yeah.
Wednesday, July 24th. Thank you for that clarification. It's going down at Oakland Park, Mariachi Jalisco, and Pancho Villa's Skull, 7 p.m. at Oakland Park. This weekend is the 55th Annual Summer Ice Cream Social for the Historical Society, Saturday and Sunday, noon to 4 p.m. each day. You heard about the Transportation Museum's grand opening happening that Saturday, the 27th. Their ribbon cutting, I believe, is at 6 p.m. And with that, we are at closing comments. Mayor Greinel.
Thank you. A member of the public tonight said that I don't want to fire Jack McIntyre, and they're right. I don't want to fire Jack McIntyre because Jack McIntyre is doing a great job as our code enforcement manager. He took over a situation where we didn't even have our own code enforcement division because it had been outsourced to an outside company. It was a skeleton crew of just a handful of people. It didn't even have a code enforcement manager directing those outsourced contracted employees, or contractors, I guess, since they weren't employees. And he has built that division into a really robust, great operation. He works tirelessly, not just during the 5 typical business days of the week, but frequently on weekends and late at night. His operation has issued, I have final confirmation, 2,500 grass violations in just the past 3 months. They have inspected over 3,000 rental units since the beginning of this year, and that's in addition to all the other blight enforcement work that they do, and they have been making a big difference in cleaning up the city. And I also just want to clarify some additional misinformation that member of the public said. They acted as though we were not addressing commercial establishments. In fact, if anything, we're even harder on commercial establishments who have tall grass or have blight than we are on residents. So we take blight very, very seriously, and Manager McIntyre's division is on top of blight no matter who is perpetrating it in our city, because our residents deserve to have a high quality of life where their neighborhoods are not marred by blight, period. I also, while I'm on the topic of correcting misinformation, it never ceases to amaze me some of the things that are said. And we had tonight our previous mayor say how these work groups with residents and business people should be open to the public for the master plan, and how her administration had every meeting open. But in fact, in 2014, when her administration did the master plan, they had a steering committee for that master plan. And not every meeting involving that steering committee and its members were open to the public. So again, I really grow frustrated with some of the shameless misinformation that is thrown about at some of these meetings.
Deputy Mayor Stevens.
Thank you, Council President. Just very quickly, I want to thank the Paramo family for the fireworks show this weekend. I also want to thank Council President Pro Tem for supporting it with his district funds. So, and the Parks and Rec Department and DPW Department for getting the park so that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Doyle, anything further? Okay. Councilman Parker.
Thank you. Well, first I want to say, good to see you, Pastor Desro, back in moving in action. I know you're moving a little bit slow, but you are moving. It's good to see you here. You know that our prayers went forward with you, and we thank God that he brought you back to here as we prayed for. Yes. Since Pastor Desro is also our president of our district CDC, and they meet every second Thursday of the month, which will be August 8th at 5 p.m. down in the Lions Den. We look forward to seeing you there. We have a robust agenda that we need to continue to put forth our people. And I want to thank all of those who sometimes are not even a part of our district who come and share with us and learn from us what we're doing in District 5. And lastly, I want to say, if you'd have nothing else to do this Saturday from 12 to 5, come over to New Spring for Missionary Baptist Church. They are celebrating their 50th church anniversary. They have the Girl on the Grill with food. They have games. They have prizes. And the only thing they don't have that I know of is you. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there that we can celebrate, that they can celebrate. We can celebrate our 50th year anniversary. And to Brother Brett Nicholson, I just want to say thank you for the advice you gave as a member of the Personnel and Finance Committee. I always felt a little bit more at ease when you was there, because I know if I didn't ask the question, you was going to ask the question, and that made us all be better at what we were doing. So thank you. And I just say Godspeed to you and your family. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman James.
Yes, I want to start out tonight also by just expressing my appreciation for having served on the council with Councilman Nicholson. We as a council are probably one of the most diverse councils that the city of Pontiac has ever seen. And we came to these offices with deep respect for one another and deep support for one another, because I believe, you know, biblically the Bible says that God raises up, you know, promotion cometh from the Lord, that he raises up and he pulls down. So when people are elected by their constituents, then, you know, God has put them in that position to serve. And so you have to give them the respect that is due them. So, you know, Brett has always had my respect, and I have really enjoyed serving with him. Pastor Parker and I served with him on the Finance Committee, enjoyed serving with him, and I, too, want to wish him the very best. He will continually be in our thoughts and in my prayers, but just want to wish him the very best. Also, I am very happy about the master plan presentation. We've had a lot of comments in public comment. And that's what public comment is for, to give people the opportunity to express their opinion. But in expressing my opinion, I was very pleased with that presentation. And I just want to say that I think the kickoff meeting that we had was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. We've got a great group of stakeholder, community residents who were there and who are going to be involved in that process. And I am really looking forward to us developing a master plan that reflects the city of Pontiac. Lastly, District 4 Community Council. Our meeting is this Thursday, July 25th at New Mount Moriah International Church. We meet at 6 o'clock. Our special guests for Thursday night we'll have members from the Pontiac Charter Commission who will be there to talk to you, answer your questions about the new proposed charter. We will also have a manager, Mark Yandrick, of the Planning Department, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the new businesses coming into District 4 and some of the zoning changes that are going on in the district. So I want to welcome all District 4 residents and really anyone that would want to attend. We always have food, good conversation, and so we're looking forward to our meeting on this coming Thursday. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rutherford.
Y'all waiting to see what I'm going to say, ain't y'all? Don't worry. I got this. Courage is the quality of being ready and willing to face negative situations involving danger or pain. See, you have to have true courage to sit in these seats. See, you have to have courage to take people making racial slurs as if you don't know they're making racial slurs and not respond to the racial slurs like black girl tragic. How appalling. How disrespectful to me as a black woman. But hey, I got courage. You have to have courage to hear people make up lies about conversations that had absolutely nothing to do with anybody else but me and our Congresswoman, who was concerned because she had heard I was sick and pulled me to the side. And so I'm going to address a couple of things because I like to have some courage right now. Here's some truth. I have never been so proud to be a councilwoman as I am today. Because it takes everything in me to remember that it's not about me in this seat. It's about the constituents that I serve. Every lie, every slander, every text message, I get them all. And I have learned in this season that it is better to pray about it than to pray on your enemy. So I pray for these people every week. I pray for them because that's the only thing that can change them is prayer. Me arguing with them, I got nothing done. Me showing them the text messages, I got nothing done. Me showing them that I am not against them, it didn't prove anything. Because at the end of the day, people want to believe mess instead of believing the blessing it is to be of service in this city. See, it takes courage to ignore ignorance. It takes courage to walk away and to walk out, to take a breather, because I know that I represent a little black girl who wants to be in this seat too. And when I first got here, I didn't know that. I thought it was all about male and about me proving to everybody I was good enough. But if I wasn't good enough, then God wouldn't have me here. And that's the courage that I have. So I'm asking my district and my community to have courage to believe in this council that we are truly trying to do what is best for the city. To have courage in this administration, because anybody can knock what Mayor Grimer does. I was, for one time, was knocking until I realized he has to have a plan, because nobody wants to sit here every week and get lied on. President McGinnis has to have a plan, because nobody want to sit here and be falsely accused of stuff he didn't do. That man ain't owned that house in years. But because people are so angry.
I did drink the Pepsi, though.
You did drink the Pepsi. It's okay. But I'm saying this for a reason. You citizens that are commenting got to get tired of this mess. Because, yes, people watch us everywhere around the world. But look at the display of how we are acting on this side. Look at how we take everything they throw at us, every slanderous remark, every false accusation, and we stand 10 toes down. And it ain't because y'all paying us a lot, because we only make $18,000 a year. And that's before taxes. It's because it's the courage and the belief we have that we want to see this city move forward. Now, I make mistakes, and if I offended someone because I went and talked to someone while they were talking, I openly apologize. That's all I'm going to do. Because I have to stay focused on what the agenda is, which is having the courage to see this thing through. So on that note, I want to let everybody know that this Saturday, we have our District 1 meeting. It's 3 to 5. at the Pontiac Creative Arts Center, 47 Williams Street. Mayor Grammer will be in attendance. I'm inviting everyone to be there. Also, I just found out that M1 has hired a new community liaison named Adam, how you say his last name? Ollier. And I'm hearing that they're going to have a meeting with M1 and with District 1 constituents. And so I'm hoping that I'm invited. I'm hoping that the mayor, once you find out about it, you invite me too, so that we can all sit at the table. And I want to publicly thank M1 for actually doing what they said they were going to do. I'm going to say it. They put up the rims at Art Dunlap. It was M1, and I appreciate that, because just like we can be upset with them about the gas, we can thank them for the progress that we made. I'll take anything that's actually helping to make my district better. I ask that you pray for this council. I ask that you pray for yourself. I ask that you pray for the people that I got up there today, because they truly need prayer. And may God bless you and keep you and put his loving hands upon you and give you peace. And good night.
Thank you. And I, for one, just want to say thank you for having such a strong relationship with our member of Congress. Not many city councils can say that.
I know.
You've stayed at the Congresswoman's place in D.C.
I know.
So it's good that you've got that connection and that direct line
Thank
to
you.
our member of Congress.
Thank you.
Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, I'm going to be quick with my words. Just want to thank everyone that came out to the fireworks in the 6th District at Oakland Park. It was a great event. The park was packed with families and children, and we didn't have one incident, not one violent incident that night. So I'm just happy. Also, the Paramo family asked me to thank the city. They couldn't be here tonight, but they definitely send their thanks to the city administration as well as the council for the support. I'd like to leave with a Mother Teresa quote, and she stated, "The miracle is not that we do this work, but that we are happy to do it." And that's why I come here every week, because I'm happy to do the work. And good night.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for all of your service and leadership. Just very briefly, I want to thank the community members that came out to the Murphy Park cleanup in recent weeks. That was an amazing turnout, amazing show of force, and I think it's really effective that it's spaced out versus us only doing one weekend out of the whole year and try and stretch ourselves thin and do little cleanups all throughout the city. Like, it was really concentrated and coordinated, and that was a really effective strategy. So thank you, Councilwoman James and the administration that were involved in us helping keep that collaboration going, because there were a lot of local businesses, community groups, candidates for office, local office holders, fraternities and sororities, the Divine Nine. It was just a great turnout. It was community at its finest, and Murphy Park was the better for it. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that came out. This wasn't just this last weekend, but I was remiss in, I think we went 1 million hours late last week, so I didn't even give really a closing comment, but I just want to amplify that and say thank you to those that were active in the cleanup. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Carrington.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Hearing no discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 9:53 p.m. Please be safe as you go home. I don't know if it's still raining. It was pretty bad earlier.